comparison blindness. Try these Go Compare glasses.
Series from Grindbach in Austria. Monday, May the 26th at 8:30 in the evening on the High Speed Television channel. All the excitement of Britcar rounds 3 and 4 from Donington. Friday, May the 30th at 6:20 in the evening on Motors TV, the High Speed Television channel.
Keep going back, more Audis, Mercedes, Ferrari, and then to round out the grid, 2 McLarens, the Butson-Gignon team, having had a pretty miserable time in qualifying with dramas, with damage, with reliability. So the grid is formed. Everybody that we're anticipating is there. The green flag is waved to release the cars onto this warming up lap. 3 hours of racing ahead of us. You know the format by now. If you can get to the hour mark on fuel, you're doing well. If you can go over the hour, you're doing extremely well. And round here, are we going to expect safety cars? Well, there's so much runoff, there's so many different access roads, John. The safety cars pretty unusual these days in long races.
Well, they are, but we have seen during the 2 days of practice and then qualifying this morning a lot of incident. Now, that was partly because the track was wet, going to damp, going to dry, and drivers were all trying to get onto the slick tire as soon as possible. Now, track conditions are perfect, with the exception there's a wind out there that is blowing right across. Here we are just on the start-finish straight. It's growing diagonally to that straight. So at some parts of the circuit, particularly here, coming through the Beckett's complex, it'll be into their face, but as they turn direction and then go back out onto Hangar Straight where they are now, the wind will be blowing against the side of the cars, and entering into Stowe, it'll hit the front of the car as they turn into Stowe. So it's going to be interesting to see on these opening laps just how the field, particularly those in the front 4 or 5 rows, deal with it. But further back, as everybody's trying not to trip over everybody else, well, hopefully we'll get a clean start and an opening few laps.
And there is the grid as it scrolls through, and you can see this amazing entry. If you look at the cars pouring through Stowe, still there are some heading up towards the Beckett's S's. I think one of the Ferraris was a bit slow away off the grid, but everybody's away now and working their way to get some warmth into the tyres. So again, this fascination, some teams running a quick driver first, some teams making sure they keep the fastest of the drivers ready for the final stint of the race. And as the cars then now work their way through Stowe, there is the Emil Frey Jaguar. Now that's dropped a long way back off the pack, hasn't it? So that's very slow away. It's got going now, so I think that was the car that was late off the grid. So the Jaguar, which is going to be started by Gabriele Gardel, former FIA GT champion, that's going to have to start at the very back of the grid then, having been last away. And if everybody goes past you, the rule is you must start at the very back of the grid. Right, past the wing they come. Quick look at the grid as it scrolls through, with 31st lining up Dennis Anderson to start in the so-called Danish Ferrari, the Insight racing car. Just 2 drivers for 458 this weekend, Frank Schmickler and Alexander Matschall. No Pierre Arret, but they were the winners of the class at Monza. The Jaguar should have been 35th. It will now start right at the very back, and better fortune hoped for this weekend for number 4 Audi. The Blancpain started car because that had all sorts of woes, mechanical, and then gravel got in the way over the course of the opening round of the championship. And in Triple One, Marcus May, the New Zealander, will do the middle stint. He's new to Blancpain. McLaren's at the back of the grid, as I mentioned, and then the Emil Frey Jaguar trying to play catch-up in this car that has no luck at all, seemingly, as it tries to develop in a rather public environment.
Well, puff of blue smoke coming from the rear of one of the cars as they exit out of the village curve, and they make their way down the Wellington Straight slowly. The Porsche controlling, I have to say it again, the Porsche controlling the field. I love the sound of that.
I hate to suggest that it won't be that way for long, but we will see. I still feel that Eric Dermont is going to end up losing places. The fascination for me is this car, as to whether or not we can see Alex Buncombe take the battle to Alvaro Parente over the early laps.
They're very confident. They said, like a number of people after qualifying this morning who were out on that last lap when the red flag came out, that they thought they had 0.2 of a second up, and that was at the first sector. So Bentley could say the same thing.
Here they come. The pace car as it is, bails for the pit lane. That is the view from on board with Guy Smith in the Bentley that will start fourth on the grid. So Eric Dermot in the Porsche versus Alvaro Parente in the McLaren. But Alex Buncombe starting third in the Nissan is going to be on his toes, you can rest assured, as they come then up towards the timing line. 3 hours of racing. Round 2 of the Blancpain Endurance Series is underway. Now the lights go green. The cars thunder off down towards Copse Corner. There's an Audi already. The Chinese car running onto the curb. On the inside line, Alex Buncombe tries to go through, but he gets, in the end, muscled down the order because Guy Smith comes around on the outside. Parente leads the way, and I think Buncombe got held up by the Porsche, and others went streaming around the outside. So Parente leads. It's Guy Smith in the Bentley in second place.
Great start for Guy Smith, starting in the second row. Oh, and contact the Aston into the first part of Beckett's, into the gravel.
That is one of the new teams for the weekend. It's the Paul Bailey Andy Schultz car. By the look of it, Andy Schultz at the wheel of it has gone off at Beckett's, and he may have done that with an assist as the cars work their way onto the hanger straight for the first time.
Is that going to be a safety car intervention? Not even a lap down.
Let's see. There's plenty of access roads. They can get to it from there. Dermot is losing places, but actually he is putting up a pretty good defence.
Well, according to Frank Perella, he reckons that Eric Dermot has made lots of improvements in his driving, but of course starting on pole position and being bullied literally by all those competitors' drivers behind you, he needs a couple of 3 laps to settle down, and then once he can find his own natural rhythm and pace, try to consolidate as best he can that pole position.
Nico Verdonk behind him, and another spin. It's the number 19 Mercedes that goes around. That's Andres Simonsen, who has lost it at club at the end of Vale. There is Eric Dermot holding up Nico Verdonk. Then behind there's Edward Sandstrom, and then you've got the MP Motorsport Aston as number 1 gains ground. Mark Basseng up on the inside line there, going through Abbey. But Dermot has certainly now become the cork in the bottle, because the leaders have gone and he's got this whole pack behind him.
And believe me, that Porsche's got loads of squirt down the straight. That's the great strength of the Porsche. It's got very good traction off these low-speed corners. It's got great speed down the straight, and we'll see whether anybody can get close enough. If there is a slipstream available, as the battle for the second of the 2 Bentleys as they come out onto this Wellington straight.
Guy Smith busy defending, isn't he, as he works his way down through Brooklands, because right on his tail there is Kevin S. This is a fascinating battle. Young GT Hot Shoe versus former Le Mans winner, and Kevin S. tries the inside line. Guy Smith isn't going to like that, is he, as he works his way up towards the end of the lap, and the Bentley hangs onto the place.
And look at the acceleration. Again, the Bentley, really good traction off low-speed corners. Pulls about a couple of car lengths on the McLaren as they come out of Woodcote. Kevin Estre has a look, sticks the nose out in the air. I can't get far enough alongside as I go into Copse. Got to fall back.
Well, there is Edward Sandstrom working his way up past Eric Dermot, diving through Copse Corner. Nico Verdonk in the Mercedes, he's next in the queue as the leaders then go through Beckett's. I think that Aston Martin is pretty much stuck.
Well, they're going to have to do something to get that car removed, and that means putting out a tractor of some description to pull the car to safety. And there is a waved yellow flag in that sector. You wouldn't realise it with the speed these cars are going at. They are meant to slow down, but it's all relative. Slow down to their previous fastest lap. They've only been past there once.
Edward Sandstrom comes onto the hanger straight, getting away from Eric Dermot. Then it's Nico Verdonk. Behind him is the Mark Poole Aston Martin that is started by Richard Abra, and as the cars work their way now through Stowe Corner, Richard Abra in turn has got Christopher Meese and then Mark Basseng up behind him. So the black and red Aston is one to watch. Here's the leading group. Alex Buncombe for the moment is still stuck on the tail of Kevin Est. So it's Parente who leads the way. Guy Smith is second, third is Estre, and then fourth is Buncombe, fifth is Sandstrom, and Eric Dermot is sixth, with everybody else seventh, all stacked up behind him.
What a glorious sight coming out of Club Corner. Cars all over the place. Aston defending, going into Abbey. Not quite flat out in this early stage of the race. Probably will never be flat out unless you've got a brand new set of tyres and no fuel on board.
And a challenge is made on the outside there. Look by Daniel Lloyd as he dives up towards Village in 107. It's the first race he's had in this car. Dan Lloyd out of the Carrera Cup GB last year. He was in the Blancpain sprint races at Brands Hatch, and the other Bentley gets mugged there. Jerome D'Ambrosier gets turned sideways. 85 went into the side. That was Sergio Afanasieff, and there's more drama there. The Bentley gets well muscled out of the way, and that was courtesy of Stefano Comodini.
He didn't even know the Bentley was on his, he was looking left. The Bentley was on his outside, and the Bentley had to go off the track. The BMW clubbed the side of the car. It's just very busy right now, but we're on the third lap. Finishing the second lap, so settle down.
Well, I was waiting for you to say it. Normally you say this is a 3-hour race, everybody. Calm down.
Calm down, dear. Dear old Michael.
The leaders have gone by with 3.5 seconds then between Parent and Guy Smith. Kevin Estre is still third. Now there, number one, Mark Bossaigne has lost track position to his teammate. Double wave yellows this time up at Beckett. So hopefully now the 128 Aston is being blinked out of the way. Eric Dermot in the Porsche, still running pretty strongly because he's in 8th place, but he's got Daniel Lloyd in his first race in the ice cream back, the Beach Dean Aston up with him. There's the Bentley's first drama.
Yes, he got whacked in the rear by the Mercedes coming through the loop at Village, and then the BMW didn't even know the Bentley was on the outside of the corner. And thank goodness we've got wide open spaces here at Silverstone, as well as it being tarmac, because the Bentley actually benefited out of that. BMW really struggled to get moving again.
Not a lot could dislodge a Bentley. We saw that at Monza. No matter what you do to them, remember how many times Andy Merritt was hit from behind? They just stand their ground. That's Guy Smith, and he's still second.
He's actually pulling away from Kevin Estre. There's a really pit stop for. Who's that for?
That's number 8, potentially. So
I was going to say D'Ambrosio, maybe he had a tyre go down.
After that contact, they want to have a look at it, certainly, and maybe, as you say, a new tyre.
But having seen that gap extend between Guy Smith and Kevin Estre, it's allowing Alex Buncombe now to get his momentum, his natural pace back, and he's starting to close to the tail of the McLaren.
Alex Buncombe, as I said on the grid, is a far better driver than people give him credit. Daniel Lloyd gets ahead of Eric Dermot, and now also Christopher Mies, number 3 Audi, will try the inside line, going up towards the loop, and he's done it, and he almost got into the back of the Aston. Mark Bossaigne tries to get through, Afanasiev tries to get through as well. Yeah, and doing what the Audi did was the right thing. You get the ground, get the track position, then you can worry about it when you get to the corner. And unfortunately, Eric Dermot was on the outside, nothing he could do, and in the course of losing one place in Village, he's now lost a further 2 into the Wellington Straight, into Brooklands, and now on the exit down in the run into Luffield. There is number 8.
Yeah, left rear.
Yeah. So, with a punctured tyre, the car is limping back. Jérôme D'Ambrosio losing places. I think that meant 2 tyres, didn't it? That's a sign for the pit wall. But anyway, Jérôme D'Ambrosio is heading for the pit road, but big disappointment early on in the race.
Well, there's been a very competitive 3-hour race. It's more like a 3-lap sprint. As the first of the Ferrari starting to show its nose and dives, following its sister car, in fact, diving into Copse, looking for ground. Again, wave yellows up at the Beckett's complex. You must not go quicker than what was your previous fastest sector time through that first sector. Kevin Estre again trying to get in contact with the Bentley, but the Bentley's got, we saw this at Monza, and it was actually Andy Merrick driving the car, now it's Guy Smith. The Bentley and that opening stint was really a strong package.
It's proving the case once again, as the screen is saying that it is Antoine Leclerc, but the original plan was that the start driver would be Jérôme D'Ambrosio, but either way, number 8 limps into the pit lane, having lost a lot of time and a lot of places. Now Jack Nicholls is there. Jack, what news on the pit stop?
Right initially, are they going to do? It looks like they're going to do all 4 of the tyres actually, because I suppose whilst they're doing one, they may as well do them all. And it's the, as you can see, it's the left rear that's pretty much totally shattered off the rim. Let's just hope they can get it off cleanly. That's going to be the big challenge, I think, and that's going to be the last one they do. Sometimes they can have damage to the actual nut itself, but it looks okay, and the Bentley will be away.
So he growls back into the race. The key thing, John, here, of course, is not to lose a lap.
Not to go a lap down. It's not very short of going a lap down because lead cars are all the way. Well, Alvaro Parente's on to pit straight coming through Woodcote, so it's probable that we will see the Bentley go a lap down simply because there's the pace of Alvaro Parente. He's on his way up to Copse. We don't know quite where the Bentley is in the pit lane, whether it's made pit lane exit or not. When we get a view as the cars as they exit out of Copse to see whether that is the case or whether Jérôme D'Ambrosio, who got clobbered by the BMW royally on the exit of Aintree coming onto the Wellington Straight.
So the cars pour through Copse corner. 4 laps are done. Alvaro Parente leading by 4 seconds. Now, are we going to have the same situation at Monza where he just disappears up the road and builds up the gap and everybody else is left fighting over the scraps on the table?
Well, when you've got clear air, as Alvaro Parente has got, he's got to make best use of it. He's lapping approximately a second lap quicker on that last, well, that last lap was only 0.2 of a second. Previously, his fastest was a second a lap. He's got to make use of the clear track and use that to build up as much time as he can against, right now, the Bentley in second place of Guy Smith.
111 Ferrari turns through Copse Corner. That's the car that started by Freddie Kramer from the Gentleman Trophy. Meantime, there is number 7 Bentley, which is upholding the Mark's honour at the moment, coming out of club. And number 50, which is the Ferrari in the hands for the first stint of Andrew Danilov, busy battling in the Pro-Am category as well. That car went strongly, didn't it, for a podium finish at Monza. Great little battle here.
Well, this is what GT racing is all about, especially enduro racing. So evenly matched, and particularly where you get down to the bottom end of the grid, where you've got the Pro-Am and then the Gentleman Cup, the Gentleman Trophy drivers. They're all mixing and matching, and they're probably all fairly similarly matched in terms of performance, with the exception of Eric Dermot in the Porsche, the pole position setting Porsche. Dermot has dropped all the way down now to 12th place in the space of, this is the 5th lap of this 3-hour race.
Is he going to lose another place? Because now coming up to attack is Stephen Jelly in the Oman Racing Aston Martin. But Eric Dermot now is getting a bit more confident in defending. He makes life hard for Stephen Jelly, but through he goes on the inside, or does he? Yes, he's got the inside line. Go on, Stephen. He's going to make it stick coming out of Aintree. He's done it.
Yeah, and Dermot did the right thing, because Stephen Jelly clearly is going to be quicker than Eric Dermot, and he gave him room on the turn into Village Corner, and it's so easy to make a mistake by being just too aggressive, trying to block a car, make the contact. So that's sensible driving from the amateur of that Pro-Am team.
Andreas Simonsen, we saw spin early on. He's now being warned about exceeding the track limits in his attempt to recover ground. He's back up in the 31st place as across the timing line goes the number 12 BMW. Henry has sit at the wheel of it.
Interestingly, the lead on that last lap, lap 5, between the McLaren of Alvaro Perez and the Bentley of Guy Smith is less than 4 seconds. It had been about 4.1, 4.2. It's actually down to 3.8. And you can't say that Alvaro Perez met traffic.
No, exactly. No, that's right. So the lead is coming down a little bit as now Eric Dermot is under more pressure. Casamassaccio is the Nissan driver, and that, I'm afraid, is the 888 BMW of Ron Ratcliffe, the British GT4 champion of last year in the gravel. That's at Copse Corner. How did he get there, one wonders?
You assume that that's going to be a contact of some description. We didn't get to see the incident. We saw the outcome of it, but it's in the gravel again. Probably not in such a precarious position as the opening lap when the Aston went off. Let's have a look and see. Is this, well, it could be. Was that a Russian-driven Ferrari getting contact, or was that just me?
So Renat Solikov in 333 was the driver going through. Whether there was contact from that angle, hard to see, but either way, the green Ferrari survives and the 888 BMW will lose time while it's dug out of the gravel. Right, there is Simonsen in the black and green Black Falcon Mercedes, still picking up places. He's just got past Andrew Danilov, dropping down to the end of Vale, so that gives him 28th place. And there, look, charging on as well is 458 Frank Schmickler, the former DTM racer, going wide. 333 has got dramas. Now that suggests there was contact.
I think there may have been contact in Copse. We couldn't get it. He's having to pull right off the track because cars exiting out of club are actually exiting over what is the, you can see there, the AstroTurf and the Ferrari. Has it got a suspension or is it tyre damage? It looks like it. I think it might be a left rear suspension has been damaged because the car looked to me like it was crabbing rather than just having a flat tyre or a tyre deflating.
The contact between Renat Salikov and Ron Ratcliffe is under investigation. So 333, I'm afraid, is in the wars, and 888 is in the gravel as this battle for midfield pounds down Wellington Straight, including 79, the Akuriakos BMW. Lights are flashing from Alistair McCabe at the back of that little group. And Frank Schmickler, using all of his own experience here, trying to go through on the inside line as he works his way through the stadium. Because of his age these days, Frank Schmickler is counted as a gentleman driver, a bronze-graded driver, but he can still deliver. He used to race for BMW and for Audi in the DTM, and he comes then towards Woodcote as over the timing line. A long way clear. Alvaro Perez up front, but there goes Andreas Simonsen through. He's now 25th. And the places are going to continue to shuffle all the way through this first stint.
Yeah, second of the Black Falcon Mercedes all over the tail of Schmickler and the Ferrari as they make the climb. There is the damage to the left rear of the Ferrari, the front wheel also. Now, is that a tyre or?
Yes,
it's a tyre.
It's a tyre, yeah.
But is there damage to the back? I mean, the whole car looks like it's, well, the left side, not just the front, but the whole side looks like it is actually sufficiently tilted to be more than just a tyre problem.
It is not well, that's for sure. Guy Smith, in the meantime, is closing on the leader. He's taken 3/10 out in the first sector. You're looking at this great battle that's going on lower down the order. 26th is the number 51 Ferrari in the Gentleman Trophy, Felipe Barreros. Up behind him is Frank Schmickler. Then 50, the all-red car, is Andrew Danilov. Next in the queue, as they work their way through Stoke Corner, is the Pro-Am Mercedes number 18 of Vladimir Lunkin. So drivers we don't always see racing for position here, but it's a good scrap. And Daniel Lloyd, in the meantime, in 1:07, is ahead of Christopher Meeks. Daniel Lloyd is a big asset to any team. Young driver, perhaps underrated, but he's going strongly. First time out in the championship in this car. Guy Smith, by the way, being warned about the track limits.
I'm just going to say, well, not just Guy Smith, just looking at this group of cars, the Aston ahead of the Audi was also running extremely wide on the exit of Aintree corner. So everybody has got to be very aware, because it is easy, particularly on the exit of Club, but also on the exit of Aintree, even in Copse, to overrun the circuit limits and potentially gain an advantage. And if you get away with it once, then you'll try it again, and you might try it even further and further. So the race director, really, there is the Ferrari coming in. That left front, the tyre completely deflated, semi on the rim. There's a damage to the left rear as well. Certainly the left front we can see. I was concerned about maybe a suspension damage to the rear of the Ferrari. They're doing the refueling, and then they'll get stuck into the wheels and tyres.
But of course, it's going to lose a lap in the process, so that car will drop down the order, and that's a big disappointment for Marco Seefried, who will do, hopefully, the last stint in that car, and will make it go very, very quickly. He really shone here last year, did Marco Seefried, in the ICTO race, the International GT Open Series visit. Right, second and third, Smith and Est going out of Club. That's the work for 333. New tyre on. Away it goes.
Well, they seem to think there's nothing at fault at the left rear, so let's wait and see whether that car can make it all the way through to the end of this race. 2 hours 44 minutes remaining, and the gap between first and second down to 3.3 seconds. I thought Alvaro Brent would have been able to have sprinted away as very much as he did in Monza. And it's Kevin Estre who's actually putting pressure on Guy Smith in that lead Bentley in second place, because he's less than a second behind Guy Smith, and that's maybe where the hurry-up's coming on from the Bentley.
Could well be. And look at this gaggle headed by Eric Damont, who is now 15th, and he's got what seems like half the field all queued up behind him. Fantastic sight this, isn't it, as they work their way towards Abbey. Stefano Guy is the one in the Ferrari flashing his headlights.
It's like a supercar showroom. There's a train of cars, what, 10 or 11 of them all the way through Abbey, the Porsche leading, and the second of the two Nissans in its own little private battle with the Ferrari up at Village. They're going to try and make the undercut, but not close enough to do anything coming out of the Village corner. Then this is the little bit earlier, it's the other group of cars. Porsche goes really wide. Eric Damont again, right, all four wheels off onto the tarmac, not quite making it onto the AstroTurf.
He's doing his best to defend as Stefano Guy lunges up the inside, and Guy will go through, I think, coming into Brooklands.
Yes,
he's done.
I mean, Stefano Guy is by far the quicker of the two drivers. Young guy from single-seater racing into GT racing, and you know, by his nature, he's just got more natural speed. Eric Damont started in pole, and the car is now into 16th place. The BMW off big time into Copse. Second time we've seen that car off into Copse.
Ryan Ratcliffe's second drama, and this time he's done damage to the back of the car. Bad news, this.
Yeah, but he's gone off under braking, I think, or if it's been another assist, hard to tell, but certainly he lost it. I think he actually knocked out one of the Blancpain corner markers. So polystyrene flying everywhere.
I think you're right about that, and so now he's going to try and compose his thoughts. There's no assist there, is there? There's no car around him. What happens?
Well, it was under rear tyre.
It's a tyre.
Wow, that was nothing to do with him. Right rear. Wow, what a...
That was a wild old ride.
Wow, we only saw the tail of it. Now we've seen the true story. Was that something to do with the impact that occurred with the 333 Ferrari, the Russian-driven Ferrari? Because that was the right rear, and it was the right rear that might have been damaged when the Ferrari hit it. It was left, front, right rear.
All stacks up. They're rather shaken.
And a limp.
Yeah.
So his left, right legs got rattled around the foot box as he's made contact with the barriers. And, well...
An unusual accident at that part of the circuit, but a big one.
Yeah, but simply because that tyre, the right rear tyre, I suspect had been damaged in that earlier lap contact. And then just simply, what happens to the tyre usually is deflating slowly. The driver may not necessarily feel it, but as it deflates, it superheats. And eventually it gets to the point where the tyre just gives up. And to me, that was a case of the tyre giving up, probably because of damage earlier in the maybe a couple of laps earlier, and finally just it had to say, I can't do anymore.
Yeah, and all the cars we've seen with punctures have all been involved in an incident of some sort, so it's not the tyre's fault, it's the problem of the bodywork. And there's one here potentially with bodywork fouling a tyre, because that is the brothers racing car of Frankie Cheng, and that's now got smoke coming from it. The two TDS BMWs poised to pounce on the inside, coming down towards Brooklands. They've both gone through.
Yeah, well, almost a little bit of Frankie Cheng being a bit cautious, may have been aware. If he hadn't seen the smoke, he may well be smelling it in the cockpit. So he'll probably dive into the pit lane. No, I think he's going to stay. Yeah, he's staying out.
Braving out, yeah. Through goes number 12, Henry Hassid, then in his BMW. 20th at the start of the lap, into a yellow flag zone at Cox Corner. And he is now 18th, Henry Hassid, but I don't think that car's going to go any further in the race.
No, I mean, that was a hairy, scary ride for Ryan Ratcliffe. Car got airborne, then hit the tyre barriers, which was a protected barrier on the outside, which prevented injury to the driver and to the car.
Race leaders are currently working lap number 10. And let's go to the pit lane and join Jack, who's found Andy Soucek.
Andy, only the early stages, but things are looking good for ART.
Yeah, we look quite strong, actually. With Alvaro in P1 and Kevin Estre P3, I think it's a good position to start the race. We have to see if we are able to pass the Bentley, who is quite fast in P2, and we can challenge for the win with our teammates, which will be good fun at the end of the race.
Any team orders or anything like that between the cars, or if you get into second place, Fred Vasseur is going to say, do anything?
Yeah, no, I think we'll fight for the win. We obviously have to be clever. The championship is long, and those races are also very long, but we'll fight. If we can win, we'll try for sure.
Brilliant, best of luck.
Thank you.
So we're currently working lap number 10. Alvaro Parent is the man who leads the way, with Guy Smith in second spot in the Bentley, and then Kevin Est shares the car that you've just been hearing about from Andy Soucek. He's third.
Yeah, I think Andy Soucek is spot on. If they can get ahead of the Bentley, then there's going to be a very comfortable lead for the two McLarens. The pace of the Bentley is being pushed by that of Kevin Estre. The gap is down to now 2.4 seconds between race leader Alvaro Parent. Now, Alvaro Parent, as I know him, isn't going to be happy with that. Now, whether he's decided, while I'm in the lead, I have got control, or maybe he's just trying to back himself into the Bentley to give Kevin Estre a chance to get away past. I somehow doubt any of those theories or theses. I think that Alvaro Parent is doing what he can do, and he's being outperformed right now by the Bentley and by the sister McLaren.
A lap or two ago, we saw Stefano Guy doing remarkable things. He's being given a drive-through penalty, you can see it on the screen, for not respecting yellow flags. So a drive-through penalty for number 90 Ferrari for not respecting the yellows.
Now, I wonder, was that on the exit coming out of Aintree onto Wellington Straight? We did see a lot of cars close together. They dived down into Brooklands, whether that was something, that was a yellow flag that we weren't aware of. Anyway, he's got the penalty, and we're in the commentary booth just talking about it.
You're looking at this long line of cars now for 28th place, with Felipe Barreiros ahead of Alistair McCaig in the Acuria Cos BMW. There is Guy Smith, who in the first sector of this lap was quicker than the leading car. He's also got Kevin Est going quicker than he is, so it's all concertinaing up for the lead. And there is Ryan Ratcliffe, sore, shaken, a bit embarrassed. He'll have some explaining to do to the team, but they'll have seen the pictures and they will know that it wasn't really down to him.
No, not at all. I mean, there was the contact, and it was the right rear and the left front of the Ferrari, so there may have been some bodywork damage or maybe a damage to the rim. Whatever it was, watch the right rear tyre. Suddenly, it just gives up. And then he's a passenger, Ryan Ratcliffe, sitting there. Car goes one way, snaps back the other way, hits the barrier, bounces off. I mean, what his body was going through, the loads and the forces, particularly when he hit the barrier and bounces back, because everything within your body that's not tied down by the seatbelt just bounces off your ribcage or whatever part of your body it is.
And there wasn't really much time to try and slow the car down. I mean, it snapped away, couldn't do anything.
Well, I tell you, the grass here is soaking wet from the rain that we had on Friday and Saturday, so the car would not slow down. It would not, as I once said in another broadcast many moons ago, it might actually accelerate. It certainly wouldn't slow down at the level it would do normally on tarmac.
More drive-through penalties, incidentally. Frank Schmickler is being given a penalty, so also is Vladimir Lunkin for not respecting yellow flags. So this is something we don't often see.
And what we're seeing is a battle for the lead. It's now down to 2 seconds. Guy Smith further taking another 0.2 of a second out of the lead of Alvaro Parent. Again, Kevin Estre running just 0.6 of a second behind that second place Bentley. Waiting, I think, just a very clever race winning to punch. Alex Buncombe has lost contact with that lead group of 3 cars, but running in clear air, running around about the pace. Oh, well, it's about the pace of the 3 lead cars. Can't make any impression on those 3 cars.
How about this for a great fight? The 2 Aston Martins have got themselves together now. Richard Abra just ahead of Daniel Lloyd, and then Christopher Mies only 9th in the Team WRT Belgian Audi Club car. Only 9th. His teammate Mark Baseng is only 10th, and these are cars you normally expect to find at the pointy end.
I used to battle frizz after every wash. Then my stylist told me about a Salon Smooth that lasts even through washes.
New Tresemme Keratin Smooth 7-day heat-activated treatment. Activate with heat and you'll enjoy frizz resistance for as many as 7 days. Tresemme, professional, affordable.
New from Butlins, special breaks exclusively for families with little ones, where you can dance with Angelina Ballerina, meet Thomas and friends, be a knight and do it right with Mike the Knight, and get arty with Mr. Maker. And the best bit is, it's all part of the price of your Butlins break, with 4 nights from only £55 a person. Call us on 0800 222 555 or visit butlins.com today.
Deposit £10 and I won't just double your money, I'll triple your money and then add some more. Spreading the jackpot joy.
Skechers Memory Foam is like a bed for your feet. Built-in memory foam insoles provide a gentle, comfortable cushion. Feel the difference with Skechers Memory Foam footwear.
Hell Performance, stainless steel brake line kits. What's stopping you?
Go further with Go Nutrition Sports Nutrition. With over 500 supplements and foods, Go Nutrition delivers premium sports nutrition products with a full money back and lowest price guarantee. And right now, selected Go Nutrition bundles are half price, starting from just £22.58 for 4 select products. Go further with GoNutrition.com.
Still nothing?
No, they just look exactly the same.
Comparison blindness. Try these Go Compare glasses. We're not taken for a spin.
I can see clearly now the rain is gone. It's gonna be bright, bright, bright.
Go Compare uses data from De Facto, so spotting the difference between policies is easy. Visit Go Compare.
Okay, which one of you losers nicked my deodorant?
Who'd want to smell like you?
Who would smell like you?
Nice, mature.
Zip it, Shrimpy.
Dan, eat a Snickers.
Why?
Because you turn into a right diva when you're hungry. Better? Better.
You're not you when you're hungry. Snickers. Get some nuts.
Unlike some, National Accident Helpline has a no-win, no-fee, no-risk guarantee. Call 0800 556 557 or go to underdog.co.uk.
Must be number 4, the Gentleman Trophy car, because the other 2 have gone through, and therefore number 4, which will be Jean-Luc Blancpain, is off. There is 25 rejoining, and that is Cody Gosselin.
And that's coming out of club corner, so if something went wrong, I suspect, in the middle of or entering Vale into the first part of club.
The Jaguar has slowed right down. It's all happening.
I was going to say, it is all happening. Don't know what the problem with the Jaguar is. It looked healthy and plenty of speed as this battle for second place. Ultimately for the lead of the race, 1.4 seconds as they came across the line at the end of lap 13. We're looking to a sort of a 29, 30 lap stint, roughly, depending if there's a safety car or not. And at the pace these drivers are driving at, it's probably going to be nearer to 29 laps when they make the pit stop. I doubt they're going to make it beyond 30.
Johnny Adam, drive-through, yellow flags, another casualty. So down the pit lane he comes. And yes, I think 29 is probably going to be the target for the first stint. They'll err on the side of caution for that first stint. And of course, if in the 3 driver cars they have got their slower driver in, I mean, slow being a relative term, but the slower of the 3 first, give him the 29 laps, get him out of the car. There's the Jaguar, which I fear may be going no further.
No, it's stuck on hanger straight. There's some drive. You can see the car just sort of shuddering and juddering. But that looks like it's the end of the day for the Jaguar. Sad to see it, because it's great to have Jaguar competing in the Blancpain Championship. Down into Luffield again, this battle going on through the field.
That's Vladimir Lunkin, I think, in the Mercedes, trying to mix it.
He was under threat, and suddenly he attacks the ID, gets through up the inside.
What a side. Of course, there's a yellow flag at that corner, so some drivers perhaps respecting the flags more than others.
Indeed, indeed.
And look to the right, more people diving in for drive-throughs.
Been a busy pit lane.
Has.
Been a busy racetrack too.
Right, there's Cody Gosselin in, and Dennis Anderson brings in the Ferrari. Now, that's one I wasn't anticipating. It's not a drive-through, as you can see. It's a very early stop to put fuel in the car. We're going to keep Dennis Anderson behind the wheel. Is that to get him out of traffic?
Well, it's a strange thing to do, to come in so early to refuel. mean, it may be a strategy. It may give him an opportunity to drive in clearer air. As we look at the race leader, who's managed to actually increase the gap now that he's getting into the tail end of these cars and he's beginning to lap. So Alvaro Parente has opened up half a second on that last lap. Kevin Estre watched the McLaren trying to use the slipstream, not only just at the Bentley, but also the Audi ahead. He's going to have a thought about looking to go the long way around, and Stowe thinks the better of it, but wait and see if Estre's going to make a dive down the inside. Clearly, Guy Smith would like to do that himself.
Up the inside of the Team Parker Racing Audi at the end of Vale. Guy Smith puts a lap on Ian Loggy, but Kevin Estre is right there behind. But as we saw at Monza so graphically, you can't easily get past a Bentley, and they're also big, heavy cars. They're difficult to dislodge. So now Parente, even on the grass now, as he sides through the traffic, he's getting away, and he's really on his toes here. He's not hanging around for a second.
He's trying to use the traffic to his advantage to increase the gap, which he did do on the previous lap, up to 1.9 seconds. Looking for the Bentley. The Bentley is probably losing out. Of course, Kevin Estre's got past. He's gone round the outside. That was happened at Abbey. Something happened in Abbey. We didn't get that view. We'll hopefully have a replay. But Kevin Estre has got past into second place. Guy Smith probably got wrong-footed by the back markers they were having to catch and overtake.
It's a fair bet, isn't it? So Kevin Estre, the opportunist, bags second place. Now, what can he do about his teammate? What can Guy Smith do to fight back straight away? That McLaren looks like it's gapping the Bentley, but then Estre has to be careful of the traffic.
Well, not only has Kevin Estre got to be careful of the traffic, I think Alvaro Parente also needs to be aware that now that Kevin Estre has got ahead of the Bentley, he's going to be lasering in on the tail of his teammate, sister car, and the pace that Kevin Estre has shown, particularly in the rundown of the Bentley now in third place, that's the car I'm going to keep an eye on, number 99.
Over the line he goes, but Guy Smith ain't that far behind him, only 0.2 of a second. Of course, they still have that yellow flag situation at Luffield, so they all had to concertina up and not overtake under that yellow flag zone. Now we'll see if Estre can get away, and here is the replay.
This is where the place was lost. Just to well, Estre came the long way around. Guy Smith went up the inside, going past the Ferrari, and Kevin Estre took the opportunity to take the longer route, but turned out to be the more productive of the two.
And Guy Smith is no dummy, is he? But he was wrong-footed there by the traffic and by Kevin Estre.
Absolutely. I mean, normally going down the inside, you think that you're going to block the car that's to your left. He didn't appreciate Kevin Estre taking the biggest punt of the day to date and go down the outside the long, long way around the loop before you get into village. And once he'd gotten ahead, then his pace, the gap between first and second currently just under 2.5 seconds, and just under 0.3 of a second between second and third. We'll wait to see what happens when they come across the line at the end of this lap.
Alex Buncombe, you were riding with there in fourth place, so my suggestion that he might be able to take the lead battle to Alvaro Parente was wrong, but what he is doing is leading the Pro-Am class quite happily, and I'm afraid to say that this new Ferrari, to replace the one damaged at Monza, is now in its garage. Dennis Anderson we saw pit early, and it wasn't strategic. It's because there is problems yet again for Insight Racing. Really disappointing as Alex Buncombe in the Nissan booms through the traffic, goes ahead of Jean-Marc Michelier's Ferrari. There's Kevin Estre. He's not getting away from Guy Smith.
Well, Guy Smith's last lap was 2 minutes and 8 seconds, and the gap between him and then that's where the time was all lost. 1 lap ago, Kevin Estre at 2.4 seconds. You can see the lead car just ahead of the lime green Ferrari coming down Wellington Straight on the brakes into Brooklands. Much better corner now than the previous configuration where you came out of Priory and then a much tighter entry into Brooklands corner. So you can carry an enormous amount of speed into the corner and at the same time still take or keep control, even though you may have a challenge.
Now the two Astons are still squabbling. This is for 7th and 8th. Richard Abra ahead of Daniel Lloyd down towards Brooklands. Daniel Lloyd in Andrew Howard's Beechdean car, Richard Abra in Mark Poole's example. Alvaro Parente leading the way by 2.9 seconds.
He's extended it slightly, but principally that's due to the way the traffic has ebbed and flowed for everybody. So actually, the true gap is going to be around about 2.8, 2.9 seconds. Just with traffic, you're going to hit patches of traffic at different parts of the racetrack. The key as a race driver is to recognize the traffic ahead of you and to try and cherry pick one car at a time and at best not lose momentum.
So Alvaro Parente it is, the man leading the way. This little squabble going on has Edward Sandstrom and Nico Verdonk, and they have just switched over. In fact, Nico Verdonk has gone 5th at the expense of Sandstrom, possibly because of traffic. They're tucked up behind Ian Loggy's Team Parker Racing run Audi, and Edward Sandstrom tries to fight back. Nico Verdonk hangs on to the place going into Stowe.
But you've got to feel that Edward Sandstrom and the Audi was wrong-footed just in traffic. But the Mercedes is a big car. It's got a lot of squirt out of a corner. So Sandstrom's going to have to do his homework and use that Audi strengths on the other parts of the circuit where he can get close to the back of the Mercedes. But of course, having lost a position to a car, it's very difficult to get it back. You always assume that once you've gone one place down, the car that's taken that place away from you has dismissed you from his thoughts.
So Nico Verdonk, winner in this championship in the very first year of the series, when he won Ferrari mounted at Navarra, heads up towards Village in the traffic, working his way past the Kessel Racing Ferrari, and Edward Sandstrom tries to lunge up the inside as well because he knows he can't afford to sit behind a back marker for a split second longer than he needs to. Comes around the outside, he's got to try and stay with Nico Verdonk, but that Mercedes is just edging away a little bit.
Well, it still has to get past the Ferrari ahead. He'll make it down the Wellington straight down into Luffield. But I think that, in fact, Verdonk maybe has lost a little bit of time. But, of course, now then it's going to go back to Edward Sandstrom, who's got the same process to fulfill, and that's get past the Ferrari as the Mercedes now into Luffield. A variety of different lines, wide entry, tight exit. Some people like to hug the curb all the way around Luffield. Whatever really suits the driver and suits the car.
So Sandstrom through, down a place, Nico Verdonk up to 5th. Now, that could be a dark horse as the race wears on, because Nico Verdonk is the man behind the wheel of it at the moment. There's Harold Primat and Bernd Schneider as the drivers. Bernd Schneider here to replace Maximilian Buch, who is in the GT Masters, the ADAC German Championship, and indeed won a race yesterday. And we know how good Schneider is. So that car only 16 seconds off the leader. Extrapolate this over 3 hours, it's worth watching.
Well, of course, when you get Bernd Schneider in the car, he'll take the car to victory. It's a given.
It's a given, yeah.
I mean, the guy wins everything, 24 hours, 6 hours, 1,000 kilometres, 48 hours if it existed. A little bit. Was that a contact there between Alvaro Perez coming down into, or was he just sort of making sure that the Ferrari he was overtaking knew that he was coming through to...
Now, the Insight Racing Ferrari that we have seen in the pit box was hit from behind and suffered some damage. That's why it's had a lengthy pit stop, but we are reliably informed that the car is going to be able to rejoin the race, albeit many laps lost, but it'll be good to have the car back out on track.
This, again, Group 4 cars, there's the fact that the car is being repaired. Mustn't have been too serious, could have been even around the exhaust system in the car, because the diffusers at the bottom of the bodywork are very incremental in the way the venturis in these cars work and generate downforce.
So 2 hours, 23 minutes to go. And this little train of cars has got at the back of it Johnny Adam, 24th, after his drive-through penalty. So Eric Damon, 21st. Behind him is the hard-charging Ferrari of Gilles Vannelet. And then you've got Stefano Guy, who's also served a drive-through. So those are people trying to play catch-up. We've had a switch around between the Astons, have we not? Because Daniel Lloyd has gone past Richard Abra, and Christopher Mies, still only 9th, is the next man to try and find a way past Richard Abra.
Not easy. Struggled to get past the other Aston Martin. And the Audi is a great race package, but it doesn't have one single great strength, and that's going to be its issue here.
Tony Gosselin's car in the garage. We saw that have its moment down at Club, didn't we, at the end of Vale? So Jean-Claude Lanier and the redoubtable Mark Sword, the other two drivers.
Wave yellow flag as they come into Copse now. That's where the BMW was perched some 5-6 laps ago. That's been cleared. So maybe somebody else has gone off further through the corner. We wait to see if we can find. Well, there's the tractor removing some body or some bits. I have to make up my mind. Well, that was part of the polystyrene. Was it a car? I couldn't quite see.
So yellow flag at Copse as their number 38 Richard Abra hustles on. Podium finisher in Pro-Am here last year. 8th at the moment, 9th Christopher Mies. So Pro-Am humbling Pro Cup car. And then 10th is the number 1 Audi. There, look, coming out of Chapel Curve with Mark Bossang at the wheel.
What I think is interesting to see is drivers who are competitors in the British GT Championship and familiar with Silverstone. They know this place like the back of their hand, and they know their car and the racetrack so well. So what is going on there? And that is the Audi getting work carried out on it back in the garage. But these British GT drivers who race in all the national circuits around Great Britain come to the Grand Prix circuit at Silverstone and really, really love it, and makes life difficult for the international GT drivers such as Christopher Mies and the Audi, because while he's a professional driver, it's not his home race.
That's right, so it's another circuit to remind himself about, as working his way through the traffic here is Daniel Lloyd, belying the fact that he's new to that car, and he goes up on the inside and he takes more traffic and therefore gets away from Christopher Meese, who at last has got past Richard Abra. So Christopher Meese gains 1 spot, and that means the MP Motorsport Aston is just starting to drop down the order a touch.
Again, I suspect that was a good run through Abbey. Christopher Meese got on the tail of Richard Abra coming up into Village Corner and got on the inside, and then once it got up to the loop, then it was all done. Oh, the Aston just a little bit of a wobble going into Brooklands, but settles down again. And there's happy families. Stefano Telly, not Stefano Telly with the baby, the child, Gregory Gilbert.
Everybody watching on, ear defenders, the little ones. Right, the race leader is currently on lap 20, and it remains number 98 Alvaro Parent ahead of Kevin Est. In 3rd place is Guy Smith, in 4th place Alex Buncombe, 5th is Nico Verdonk, and 6th is Edward Sandstrom.
Interestingly, on the 20th lap, they're now on the 20th lap, Guy Smith has got fastest first sector time. That's in a set of tyres that's on its 20th lap.
Yeah.
Getting clear of a lot of this lap traffic. They've been sort of ebbing and flowing with the traffic as they've been catching it. Now that they've got clear air, Guy Smith again 1.5 seconds roughly behind Kevin Est in 2nd place, who's 3 seconds behind race leader Alvaro Parent. So Guy Smith's not giving up. He knows that this car, this Bentley Continental, has got performance.
It's interesting as well, isn't it, that late in the stint, as you make the point, it's going quicker, whereas at Monza, it was struggling on tyre pressure, so they've clearly got around that issue, and as the car is lighter on fuel, so the pace is there. Now, at the end of Vale, you can see that Richard Abra has got himself back onto the tail of Christopher Meese, and behind, Mark Bosseng is being caught by the Aston Martin in the hands of Stephen Jelly here, number 44. That's 11th, the Oman Racing Team car, and Jelly being held up, isn't he?
Yes, I mean, he was trying to go around the outside of the Ferrari and the exit of club. No way to do that, and he had to back out and pull abruptly back to the right. Got the momentum, got through going into Abbey. And look at this battle here now. The Aston coming back. Abra trying to get back at Christopher Meese as they go into Village Corner. Then the short sprint up to the loop. This tight semi-camber. It's one of those frustrating corners because there's a myriad of lines you can use in it, but it doesn't ever pay benefits. So many on the exit coming through Aintree that you might think, well, maybe I did do a good job in the loop.
This is Wellington Straight. The back marking Audi gets out of the way of number 1 Mark Bosseng, who launches up the inside and goes through. Bosseng in 10th place, trying to hustle on in pursuit of the Richard Abra Aston coming through Luffield. Still that yellow flag is in the 1st sector at Copse Corner, as the race leader Alvaro Parent has a 3-second advantage at the moment.
And the gap, in fact, now between 2nd and 3rd is stretched with this traffic. 2.5 seconds.
Now there is 38, which is Richard Abra at the wheel. Joe Osborne is another of the drivers of that car. Joe is quick. Let's find out his thoughts now. He's with Jack.
Joe, an awful lot of battles going on in these early stages.
Yeah, I think everyone's finding their rightful place on the grid. Obviously, with qualifying, you don't have to start with the driver that did that time. So there's a few guys out of position. So that's why I think there's so much jostling going out there. But some good, clean racing at the moment, which is good. We like.
And running 3rd in Pro-Am at the moment must be pleasing. What's your ultimate target? The win in Pro-Am?
Yeah, I think the Nissan's quick with Bunker behind the wheel. He's a good peddler, so he's going to shoot off like he has, and we've just got to reel him in with their 2 more amateur drivers. Lloyd's just jumped us for 2nd. We're just running quite a conservative fuel map at the moment. We're just trying to stretch out Richard and I's stint as long as possible, so we've got as much seat time, which ultimately knows that the quicker race run, just sometimes lap times hurt a little.
Thank you.
No worries, thank you.
We have a whole host of people giving drive-throughs for improving under yellow flags. One of them, significantly, is Mark Bosseng. Another is Stephen Jelly. Another one to be penalised is Henry Hassid. Another is Frank Schmickler, yet again. Another one is Jerome D'Ambrosio in the Bentley. Also, number 22 is going to be given a penalty, which is Ian Logie out of the Gentleman Trophy. 128 gets a penalty, which is also Gentleman Trophy, Andy Schultz. And number 7, Guy Smith, the man who is in 3rd place, gets a drive-through.
So now, I don't know what these drivers are doing. Yellow flags are clearly waved. There's plenty of warning. There's no excuse for ignoring a waved yellow flag. There are occasions when circumstances you come upon it literally. It gets stuck out at the point you arrive on the scene. But ordinarily to see what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars all being given a drive-through penalty for ignoring it.
deposit £10 and I won't just double your money, I'll triple your money and then add some more. Spreading the jackpot joy.
Where could you meet someone amazing? At adults.co.uk, you'll find a choice of thousands of men and women. Whether you're looking for long-term love, an older partner, or maybe just someone to meet for a casual encounter, adults.co.uk could be the fast and easy way to make it happen. Best of all, it's free to join. So go to adults.co.uk and find someone new today. Adults.co.uk. Dating for everyone.
New from Carplan, Demon Foam Snow Foam Car Shampoo. Simply connect to a hosepipe and spray on the dense Demon Foam with a sweet cherry fragrance. Rinse off as normal. It really is that easy. And for that just wax look, use Demon Shine Spray Gun Shine. There's no hard rubbing, polishing or anything. Shh! Only you and the Demon will know the truth. Demon Foam and Demon Shine from Carplan. Just spray on for a wicked shine.
Still nothing?
No, they just look exactly the same.
Comparison blindness. Try these Go Compare glasses. We're not taken for a spin.
I can see clearly now the rain is gone. Gonna be bright, bright, bright.
Go Compare uses data from De Facto, so spotting the difference between policies is easy. Visit Go Compare.
Presenting the Skechers Go Walk 2 with a lightweight and comfortable Resolite sole. They're a walker's second best friend.
Unlike some, National Accident Helpline has a no-win, no-fee, no-risk guarantee. Call 0800 556 557 or go to underdog.co.uk.
I love a man who knows about diamonds.
Knockhill Bike Racing Round 1, Superbikes and Club Classes. Thursday, May the 29th at 10:05 in the evening on Motors TV, the high-speed television channel.
Henry has seat down the pit lane. Guy Smith chasing on after Daniel Lloyd, who's been impressive in this stint, and that, John, is a...
My hero. No, it's not my hero. It is. Oh, Darmont, what have you done? Darmont!
Eric Darmont's Porsche has had a spin. It carries on. That's the good news. It's all right. Still in the race. Panic not.
Well, Frank Pereira told me that he's made great strides, great improvement. And didn't want to see that, so a little bit of a grudge match going on into, and the lead car really getting compromised by Darmont. Runs, well, look how wide Alvaro Parent almost ended up in Whittlebury.
Track limits, eh? Right, so Eric Darmont has got back into the race, but he's lost a lap now because through has gone Alvaro Parent. So it's an ART Grand Prix 1-2. Parent leads Est, third is now Bunkel, fourth is Verdonk, fifth is Sandstrom, and Guy Smith is going to be through either sixth or seventh because Daniel Lloyd was battling with him and they've yet to come over the timing line. Lloyd's sixth, yeah, I was right. Seventh is where Guy Smith is.
Gentleman Racing's Bentley. McLaren can't do anything within a straight line.
Let's find out a bit more about Bentley's life because it's been a fairly busy first 50 minutes. Jack is in the pits with Malcolm Wilson.
Malcolm, the drive-through must be very frustrating for you.
Yeah, it certainly is, and the guy is definitely very frustrated. He can't understand it. Obviously, we'll have to get to the bottom of it.
What's he said over the radio then? Does he say that he didn't improve?
It just says basically that, you know, if he's got a drive-through, then the people in front of him should have a drive-through. So, I don't know, we'll have to get to the bottom of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, of course, the race director has all the timing data. He can see when a car improves in the sector. There's the evidence.
And I mean, if they want to go and check the evidence, it'll be available for them to do so. The problem for a driver is when your focus is so much on what's going on around you, particularly when they're in the middle of lapping cars. Maybe he simply did not observe a yellow flag zone. How many times he went through it in excess of his personal best is another matter. But drivers, you know, they always sort of say, I didn't do anything wrong. I mean, why would you ever own up to something if you don't believe you've done anything at all?
Now this is Guy Smith's view. That's Daniel Lloyd ahead of him. So this is young charger in Aston Martin ahead of former Le Mans winner in the Bentley, Guy Smith. We're riding with him as he comes now from the loop through Aintree.
Yes, and onto the what is almost the second quickest part of the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, Wellington Straight, down under the second of the bridges, and then the braking zone. You can brake late, but the straight line speed of the Aston under brakes, the Bentley really does run down the Aston Martin. That's just virtually halved the gap. Now, ordinarily that would seesaw, but Guy Smith's made massive improvement in terms of the gap between the Aston and the Bentley, just simply in that one braking zone. Stretches the Aston, stretches it again on acceleration. Maybe I'm getting a little bit overheated, thinking that Guy Smith had found some performance advantage, but again on the brakes, into cops. Not a big brake, it's really just a flick down on the gear change. Let the car float literally out to the very edge of the racetrack, run the outside wheels over that AstroTurf, then get the car straightened up for the entry into the first part of Beckett's, the right, very quick, then slow it down one gear through the left, then the final part of Beckett's complex, the exit, then that short sprint, and finally Chapel Curve, which used to be a mega corner. It's still pretty quick in a GT car.
You're riding with Smith down the Hangar Straight. It's inching up onto the back of Daniel Lloyd, but the balance of performance is such that it's hard to really claw back the time.
Well, it's been under brakes that the Bentley's really been doing a great job catching the Aston Martin. And you can see the gap probably in the space of a lap has just about halved. The Guy Smith, well, the car we know is quick in a straight line. We know it's got good traction. Guy Smith, no doubt, absolutely fuming to have had that drive-through penalty for ignoring a yellow flag zone.
Here are the leaders, the two McLarens of ART Grand Prix. They were 1-3, weren't they, at Monza? It's 1-2 at the moment, and 2.8 seconds it was. Parent quicker in the first sector, quicker in the second sector, so he's doing his best to get away on this lap.
Yeah, the gap had got down to 2.8 seconds. It had been roughly 3.5 seconds, but on this lap, Alvaro Parent, that personal best first sector, and fraction, what, 0.2 and a bit faster in the second sector. So well, let's have a look and see. Well, it's increased to 3.3. So it may just have been again the where traffic, you meet traffic around a lap, and Cabanastro, you know, suffered after Alvaro Parent.
So we've done 25 laps. Let's have a look back at the story of the race so far that began with a very busy grid, bagpipers and all, and 45 cars ready for action here at Silverstone. It's round 2 of the Blancpain Endurance Series, and as the lights changed to green, the pack thundered away, and with one Audi on the grass, it was Alvaro Parent that led. Alex Bunker tried the inside line to make up places, but he got boxed in by Eric Dermond's Porsche. He went backwards, and Andy Schultz got it all wrong coming up towards Beckett's and skated off into the gravel. More drama as the number 8 Bentley was forced out wide by Stefano Comandini, and he had to pit with a punctured tyre. So Comandini was able to recover. Then Ryan Ratcliffe had his first drama, and 333 had a punctured tyre, and that ended up limping into the pit lane. Then another drama for Ryan Ratcliffe. The tyre went down, he thundered off into the wall, did a lot of damage, and the car was out of the race. Andrew Danilev had a spin up at the loop and was ever so nearly clobbered. The Boutsen Junior McLaren spun in avoidance, but thankfully no major drama done, as lower down the order there was a great battle between Michael Brozniewski and Katsumasa Chio. Nissan up on the inside of the Ferrari. Alvaro Parent in traffic, as committed as ever. 2 wheels on the grass as he worked his way through the pack. Second place change as Kevin Estre dived round the outside of Guy Smith coming up to Village. It was brave stuff and it worked, but Smith then copped a drive-through penalty for improving his lap time under a yellow flag. He pitted, he fell to 7th place, and it meant that the ART Grand Prix McLarens ran 1st and 2nd. Parent ahead of Est, with Alex Bunker up to 3rd at the end of the first hour in the Pro-Am leading Nissan. Back live at Silverstone, we've got 2 hours and 6 minutes to go. In other words, we're not far away from the first of the routine stops, which we're expecting around laps 29, 30, that area.
It's gone very quickly.
It has, hasn't it?
First 54 minutes of this race have flown by. It's been frantic in the early stages. And then as we got the lead cars coming through the tail end, there's the lapping and some of the manoeuvres that drivers have had to take, and maybe that's the reason we have seen so many drivers being given these drive-through penalties for ignoring the yellow flag zones.
The team manager of the 333 Ferrari being summoned to the race director. That's one of our favourite Ferraris. It's the bright green one.
We're not allowed to mention it. But the team manager certainly is rushing to see the race director.
Boom, boom. Thank you, John. The old ones are the best. The order at the moment: McLaren's first and second, Nissan third, Mercedes fourth. That car 21.8 seconds back, still a dark horse, I think, especially when you put Ben Schneider into the end. Then fifth at the moment, Edward Sandstrom's Audi, Daniel Lloyd's Aston sixth. Seventh is the Bentley of Guy Smith, eighth Christopher Mies, ninth Richard Abra's Aston, and then in 10th place is 85 Sergei Afanasiev in the Mercedes. 11th, number one Mark Bossang, who's had a really anonymous first stint. There he is going over the line, but in the Team WRT Belgian Audi Club Audi, that's a bit subdued.
It's not what I'd have expected from WRT, and I wouldn't have expected it from Mark Bossang either. But I just think that the level at which the Blancpain series is running, it's running more at the level of what I would call Blancpain sprint pace than, let's say, the endurance pace, which is what Blancpain Enduro has always been about. It's been principally about endurance racing. But we're now seeing, I think, a switch from endurance to really a 3-hour sprint.
3-hour sprint, yeah. And Mark Bossang, former FIA GT1 world champion, for whatever reason, struggling to match the pace of those around him. But balanced performance is always a hot topic, especially at Audi. And at the moment, McLaren seems to have the best of it because it's a 1-2 for ART Grand Prix. Nissan going well. Alex Buncombe is in third place. And Florian Strauss is a man that will drive car number 80 later in the race. Let's catch up with him and Jack in the pits.
Florian, Alex has built up a big lead in Pro-Am, and it looks like Nick's going to take over now.
Yeah, looks pretty good. Getting like a Monza, then an amazing start in, so we hope we can keep it, you know, like at the same spot. It will be tough. I think the Pro-Am cars, to be honest, have 2 silver drivers, so there will be another one pretty strong coming next. We will see what we can do. For us, it's more. We're still learning, so we try to settle into a good rhythm, same for Nick and me. And then hopefully, yeah, we end on the podium this day.
Thank you.
So Florian Strauss, another of this wave of couch-to-cockpit racers, illustrating his ability, and went well at Monza. This is Alex Buncombe, running in third place, leading Pro-Am from Daniel Lloyd in the Aston Martin. And Alex has done his usual excellent job.
Absolutely. I mean, an outstanding performer, whether it's historic racing, contemporary GT racing, and what's happened to this Audi? Was that a mistake, or was there a mechanical issue? There's no indication that he'd gone off. It just suddenly pulled off, and that was coming down Wellington Straight. So it was Jean-Luc Blanchimont. Don't know why that was. Obviously, well, apparently, in fact, he'd come out of Aintree and lost control. Went a hell of a long way, I have to say. Seems to be strange he got that far.
And he'd already had a spin, of course, early in the race. He was in the gravel at Luffield. So Blanchimont, the reigning Gentleman Trophy champion, is not having a happy time of it here. But we had in the Lamborghini race earlier on somebody who got it wrong with a real tank slapper out of Aintree, and it went halfway down the straight. Here's the replay, John.
Well, where is it? Oh, there we are, there we are. Yeah, no, he got it all wrong, you can see. In fact, he got it wrong midway through the exit of the corner, and then has sort of fitted the head staggers as he gathers. Where am I? Where's the racetrack? Am I going in the right direction? Oh, yes, he's got it in the right direction, because cars are passing him going that direction.
Yeah, the good news is no damage, so carries on in the race. 107, Daniel Lloyd comes through Aintree, putting a lap on the Mercedes there behind. The Beechdean Aston Martin, the team run and owned by Andrew Howard, last year's British GT champion.
No ice creams.
No ice cream.
No ice creams this year. They were giving out ice creams last year. Mind you, on a day like we've had, who wants an ice cream?
You need a hammer to break it, probably. It has not been a warm weekend here. Andrew Howard's car hustled on by Daniel Lloyd. Alex McDowell is another driver of it this weekend, World Touring Car racer. So it's an interesting mix of drivers, this.
A little bit further up the field, just looking at Alex Buncombe, keeping an eye on the Nissan. Well, there would be 2 amateurs getting into that car, and it would be amazing to think they could continue the work that Buncombe's been doing. He's just 16.5 seconds behind the 2 lead McLarens. Alvaro Perret, we see, just coming down into Vale. He's currently got a 2.5 second advantage over his teammate Kevin Estra. I suspect that the ART team are controlling, orchestrating whatever.
You remember that drive-through penalty that Jerome D'Ambrosio had for improving under a yellow? He's got another for overtaking under a yellow flag now. So another penalty for D'Ambrosio, and also number 50, Andrew Danilov, has got a drive-through for overtaking under a yellow flag. There is the 85 Mercedes pit stop. That's interesting. He's done 28 laps. Afanasiev gives way.
Yeah, that's an early pit stop, but maybe by coming in early, getting it done, pit lane clear. There's nobody so far. No, the bulk of the field have not decided yet to come in. They're on their 29th lap now, so we may see a more significant number of cars decide this is the time to make that first pit stop. But that Mercedes-Benz doing it one lap earlier. They probably still have a residue of fuel in the car. They wouldn't have run out at the pace they're running at. And Alvaro Parent all over the back of the lap traffic, trying to maximize his acceleration off. Luffield gets behind the Ferrari coming through Woodcote. He'll have a look down the inside as they come under the braking or the gear shift zone, certainly, into Copse. He's not close enough. No, he's not able to do it.
29 laps done by both the leading McLarens. So, relatively speaking, it was early for Afanasiev, and also Marc Bossaigne came in after 28 laps. There is the 200 Bentley with Steve Tandy at the wheel of it. Steve, very successful historic racer, has turned his attention back to modern GT racing as well of late.
Interestingly, just talking about Alex Buncombe as we are, he's managed to reduce the gap to the second place by about a second. Probably due, once again, to the ebb and flow of traffic. Nevertheless, it's an improvement rather than going the other direction.
Tyres getting ready at ART, so after 30 laps you can anticipate at least one car in.
Which one?
Well, good question.
Well, I'm the person to answer. I suspect it will be the second place car, Kevin Est.
Drivers ready.
But ordinarily in these situations, teams normally offer that up to the car that's leading, and the two cars that are leading, it would be the choice of Alvaro Parent if he wants to come in now or maintain his momentum again. They're really flirting with getting a penalty for running so wide coming out of the Exeter Club corner. So will it be Kevin Estre in the second place McLaren, 3.7 seconds behind in lap 29, or will it be race leader Alvaro Parent? For me, both drivers, Estre and Parent, have done a stunning job, and I would like to keep them in as long as I can, but the limiting factor is going to be they need to be sure they don't run out of fuel.
Okay, well there is the Nissan team ready to receive 35, which is Katsumasachio, who brings the car in.
He's had a bit of an eye-opener this weekend.
He's gone well, though. He's gone well in this race.
He's done well, but he's really found it daunting. Coming out of Super GT in Japan, where you're a mega, he suddenly realised that there's a lot more megas in the world than the race in Super GT in Japan, and the race in British GT, the race in Blancpain.
It's going to be Est, isn't it? Parent goes through.
Yeah.
And Kevin Est.
Oh, unfortunate. Look at that. Well, that was just misfortune, just having the Ferrari coming in, deciding a late cut to drive in. It'll make little difference because they're limited by pit lane speed limit from now on. But the McLaren, first pit stop in the pit lane.
So they can get some practice by running 99 through, and then it's the race leading car perhaps in a lap's time. But again, if Parent gets to lap 31, that'll have been a good effort with no safety car. 29 was the expectation. 33 is what some people think they could go to, but that would be really marginal on fuel. But we'll see how good people are. 26 is just in, by the way. Edward Sandstrom has come in, so he's gone 30 laps as well. Good effort, but others are going longer. And what's happening for the Nissan?
It was a safe release, as opposed to a unsafe release. So the team did a very good job. They saw the car coming down the pit lane. They weren't sure if the Nissan would make it out before being maybe penalised for an unsafe release. Lost a couple of seconds in doing it, but it also avoided the potential of an unsafe release penalty.
So fuel, tyres and a driver change. Two mechanics only to do the tyre changes, so it's pretty gruelling work for the guys to do this. 128 Aston back in the background. Front, left, on, tightened up. Work done. Car dropped down. Mechanic says good to go. So 99 blasts back down the pit lane.
Well, that will put Alex Buncombe up into second place in the Nissan, 19.5 seconds behind race leader Alvaro Parent. And you have to believe that the Nissan is going to be in very shortly, no doubt, as Alvaro Parent. So they'll probably, ART will do their cars consecutive laps.
Sandstrom's car being cycled through.
Strange colour. I don't identify an Audi white with different flashes all over it. So good job by the team to get that car back out. There is the race leader, and he's coming in this lap.
So 31 laps done for Perrin. Good effort, that.
He also, on the way in, booted it and left a big black line in the direction he pointed that McLaren. So the AR team ready to bring Alvaro Perrin in.
And this, if he stays out, will give Alex Buncombe the lead overall, won't it?
It will do, unless Buncombe comes in this lap as well. We haven't seen him come in the pit lane, and there's no red mark. Oh, I think he might have just come in right now. In fact, just maybe caught him. No, he stayed out, in fact. So, is it Demoussier or Primat going into the lead car?
It was Kevin Kyrgios that got into 99, incidentally.
Yep.
So
the Estonian driver.
The wheel, yeah. Stefan Ortelli has taken over 26.
Little terrier he is.
Quite.
Absolutely is. Loves motor racing.
Daniel Lloyd is in. Christopher Meese is in as well. Richard Abra has come in, so more and more significant stops now cycling through. So there's Kevin S. car now with Kevin Kyrgios at the wheel of it.
So waiting to see the Nissan, the lead car. In fact, Sky Smith in 4th place, fastest first sector time in spite of that drive-through penalty.
Going a long way, isn't he, on this first tank of fuel, Guy Smith?
Going a long way extremely quickly.
Absolutely right. Because he has to make up some lost time after serving that drive-through. Now, are we going to get a switch between the ART Grand Prix McLarens here on the pit stop? Let's see, because over the timing line comes 99 Kevin Kyrgios. Gregoire de Moustier takes over 98 and should be able to hang on to the lead. But let's just check as the cars work their way now up towards Beckett's. Well, they are together.
Yep. So it's status quo from what we could tell. De Moustier just ahead of sister car. Kevin Kyrgios. Estonian.
Man in second spot, there's Andy Soucek. Drink in hand.
Yeah, Kevin Astra. Little chat between the two drivers, and good stint by Kevin Astra. Did a very good job indeed. Kept Alvaro Perrin, who is effectively the star of that team, part of the McLaren organisation, and probably has done more miles in an MP412C than anybody else on this planet. So Kevin Astra earning his spurs by being invited to join this team.
In comes Alex Buncombe. Jack is down there.
Yeah, Alex Buncombe pulls nicely into his slot and then gets out. What could be interesting is that Black Falcon are preparing right behind me. In fact, I've just been told off by one of the mechanics there because he's trying to get ready. So that could be interesting. If they come in before the Nissan is finished, it may cost them some time. It hasn't been too bad this season in Blancpain, but certainly last year, remember in Monza, we had all sorts of traffic jams. But it all looks to be going okay at the moment. Of course, they can't change the tyres before the drivers and everything are in. So that's the reason that the pause is happening. But now Nick McMillan is strapped in, and now the refueling can be done and the tyres can get to work. So it'll be interesting to see whether the Black Falcon Mercedes comes in before this pit stop is done. Back to you, Addis.
Thanks, Jack. So, yes, the tightness of a pit lane is relevant, and especially here, if you're at the end where Santilot was just before the bridge, there's more space. You've got a bit more play in what you can do.
I was just going to say the two ART McLarens are getting very close indeed. Kevin Kyrgios is being pressurised by Gregoire de Moustier, so that gap, we saw them both come out of the pits within, what, 2 seconds or so, and that gap has decreased, and it's Gregoire de Moustier who's going to chase the car that actually at one point led this, well, actually the car that was in second place behind Alvaro Perrin.
There they are, a brief shot of them together. Two McLarens absolutely together now.
Oh yeah, de Moustier all over the back of Kevin Kyrgios, and there's going to be de Moustier taking the lead of this race, the car that ran in second place, and all over the back of what was Gregoire de Moustier.
So Kyrgios goes to the inside, and he's going to pick off de Moustier. So there's the change.
Yes.
99, the second place car as was, goes ahead of 98. So Gregoire de Moustier, who proves, I'm afraid, that he's not as quick as Kevin Kyrgios, loses early in his stint the lead that Alvaro Perrin had built up.
Absolutely. So there are the drivers looking at it. They'll be taking all that on board. Of course, Andy Soucek, when he gets into that car, will be absolutely on it. top-line race driver in all forms of single-seater racing, now in GT racing, back with the Bentley, and in comes Guy Smith.
Having got himself back up into second place. Nico Verdonk has pitted as well, and he was the leader.
Not pitted very well, Guy. Slightly off, how I would like to say. It's not really what you'd call quality parking.
Andy Merrick gets on board. And Stephen Kane, we know from the grid interviews, will go last. But yes, it's kind of abandoned in the pits more than parked, isn't it, that?
Yeah, sometimes, you know, if you've got a car just in the bay before you, it's a very difficult cut. And, of course, that makes life slightly more awkward for the guys doing the wheel tire change. Andy Merrick just feeling... One of the things you do as a driver getting into a car you've been handed over is you put your foot in the brake to make sure there's a brake pedal. You might be told, yeah, everything's perfect, mate. Don't worry, get on, get him in. And actually, you might find the steering wheel's off center. There's a long, sloppy brake pedal, and the seat. The worst thing of all is the seat is soaking wet.
Well, this is only the second stint. Poor old Stephen Kane's got to go and do the third stint. It'll be even less likely to be a pleasant car to get in. Somebody else being warned about track limits, incidentally, is in one of the leading cars. It's Henry Hassett again. He's been given all sorts of warnings, I think, thus far in the race. Right, we're into the second hour, and still we've got a few people that have yet to pit. Away goes number 7 then. So Andy Merrick lasts down the pit lane.
Andy Merrick was certainly outstanding in Monza for the first race for the Bentley Continentals, and he will want to do at least the same job Guy Smith did, and hopefully do it without incurring the wrath of the stewards.
So that's a look at Beckett's, as everybody now, having had that first round of pit stops, files back through. And at the end of the next lap, we'll get a better indication of what the race order is, but we'll still be the two McLarens ahead, and Kevin Kuyas having picked off pretty easily Gregoire de Moustier. Gregoire gets better, but he's still not as fast, I'm afraid to say, as one or two of his co-drivers and teammates. And at this level, you can't afford, especially in the Pro Cup, to be slow.
No, I mean, it's a big pressure on Gregoire de Moustier. He has improved, as you said, David, his performances. But when you get into a group of cars, Jerome D'Ambrosio explaining to John Wickham and others on the pit lane that session, and John, well, you know, he's been there, done it, written the book. In fact, he's written the subsequent book to the book. And there we see the Bentley now being driven by Andy Merrick, waiting to see what his first flying lap will be. He's on his out lap at the present time, followed by the sister car.
The team manager of cars 7 and 8 has got to go immediately to the race director. That'll be John Wickham then.
Well, he's used to giving out lessons to sinners.
Well, as over the timing line goes Kevin Kuyas, that is effectively the leading car now. Great first stint done by Kevin Est. Let's hear from him with Jack.
Kevin, good stint. Now you're into the lead.
Yeah, the start was quite tricky because we were a lot of cars and the Porsche was a bit slow at the start. So I did a good start. I managed to be P3 after the second corner, and then I was following the Bentley. Didn't took too much risk to overtake him, and was fine at the end. I could overtake him in the traffic, and then the pace was good actually. When I was second, I catch a little bit Alvaro, and then we had the same pace till the end. So we were second. We did a good pit stop, and then now Kevin overtook Greg. So yeah, it seems to work good at the moment. We need to finish like this, do no mistake, and I think we have a good chance to win this race.
Was Kevin overtaking Greg a decision by the team?
I don't know. I was not on the radio at this time, but I think Kevin is a bit quicker than Greg here. So he saw that he was quicker. He pulled out, and then Greg just let him by. But yeah, I think it's kind of a team play. But we'll see. It depends the driver, which driver is in the car.
Thank you.
Bonne fête, maman.
Happy Kevin Est wishes well to his mum and can afford to smile because his car is leading. And of course now there are 47 minutes that this car will do before the next pit stop. This means that Kevin Kuyas should be able to build up a really big lead over Gregoire de Moustier.
Yes, and of course then when Andy Soucek gets into that lead car, it's only going to extend its advantage, you would think, because, you know, can Harold Alexander Premat match the pace of Andy Soucek? It's probably even Stevens. I would shade it slightly towards Andy Soucek as we see the lead car, Kevin Kuyas, doing a very good job indeed, as he did do in Monza just, in the end of April, in fact. So McLaren's and ART have really sorted this MP412C out. And they've got not only a strong car mechanical package, they've got a strong driver package to go along with it. And last lap was 2:04.7. Best lap so far 2:02 for that particular car. As the Gregoire de Moussier car in second place, its best lap was basically 9/10 of a second quicker. That was Alvaro Parent, who did it relatively early in the race.
Henry Hassett has been warned about track limits. Eric Dermont has been warned about track limits. And now the race director has put on the timing screen, last warning, cars 12 and 93. So if they carry on offending, penalties are going to fly.
I want to know what John Wickham's been dragged into the race director's office immediately for his 2 Bentley drivers.
Well, both have had drive-throughs, haven't they, for yellow flag infringements, be it improved sector times or overtaking. So, might be to do with that. We shall find out, I'm sure. Especially if a penalty comes, that will come up on the screen. So, we'll send Jack in that direction as well. Now, Stefan Ortelli.
Exactly. I'm just going to point out, is that an overlap or is that actually a pace, performance and position?
It's third position and it's on merit, isn't it? That the order now is Kyrgios de Moustier Ortelli, Nick McMillan 4th leading Pro-Am, Andy Merrick 5th, James Nash 6th in number 3 Audi getting up there, 7th Harold Primat, 8th shown as Joe Osborne, but it might be Mark Poole because you never know with their transponder. 9th is 85 Lucas Wolf, who took over early from Sergio Afanasiev, and 10th now, number 1 Audi of Cesar Ramos. So it's a rather different look compared to what we had in the first hour.
I mean, the number 1 Audi, Cesar Ramos, Mark Pessang, Lawrence Van Thor, 10th place. It doesn't equate. There's something not happening. And have WRT just not dialed this car in? A lot of wet practice, very restricted running when the track was dry, not the usual track knowledge. But I mean, that's the best organized, oiled machine, probably now with the exception of ART, in GT endurance racing.
I switched to Virgin Media and got a really good deal on TV, broadband and calls.
Right now, you can get TV, broadband and calls half price for 6 months. You'll get over 60 TV channels, as well as catch-up TV and our amazing TiVo service, and fibre optic broadband with unlimited downloads as standard. The Starter Collection, with over 60 TV channels, TiVo boxed, fibre optic broadband, unlimited UK weekend calls. The Starter Collection. Just £10 a month for 6 months. Plus, join now and get 6 months Netflix included. Call 0800 052 1060 to switch today.
At Butlins, a world of entertainment is waiting for you on a school holiday break, where you can meet Titan the robot, get arty with Mr. Maker, and solve mysteries with Scooby-Doo and the gang live on stage, plus much more. And the best bit is, it's all part of the price of your Butlins break. Call us on 0800 222 555 or visit butlins.com today.
Deposit £10 and I won't just double your money, I'll triple your money. And then add some more. Spreading the jackpot joy.
Why is no one dancing? Come on, let's get this samba party started. Better believe it, ladies, because these hips don't lie.
Yeah, Red. Shake it like it's hot.
You hear that, people? That's my body talking.
They can't get enough of us, Red.
Wait a minute. It's not our moves they can't get enough of. Uh-oh. Time to do the quick step.
Limited edition Brazilian M&Ms.
Presenting the Skechers Go Walk 2 with a lightweight and comfortable Resolite sole. They're a walker's second best friend.
Hell Performance, stainless steel brake line kits. What's stopping you?
I honestly don't really know what it was for. I'm absolutely, shocked. But it seems a lot of people got them.
Of course, an overtaking under a yellow flag is down to an observer's report, and there can always be human error in what the observer sees.
Yeah, but Silverstone's got static cameras all around the racetrack, and they can sometimes, if we go on board with Andy Merrick, who's just got ahead of the Nissan of Neil McMillan, so Merrick up to 4th place, and another strong drive from Merrick in the Bentley, and just looking to see where the Nissan is in relation. I mean, they're running in different categories. The Nissan running in the Pro-Am category, of course the Bentley running in the Pro Cup.
Here's your fight for third, isn't it now?
Yeah.
Because Ortelli versus Merrick together. So what was 1.7 seconds at the start of the lap, he's coming down, and rather than Ortelli, who runs way wide, he's going to lose a place to Merrick here. This is the third. Easy peasy round the outside, and that was a mistake, a rare one out of Ortelli that did it.
I'm not sure. I mean, it was obviously a mistake. I don't know if it was a concentration error or whether there was something, just he ran out of talent maybe, or maybe he ran out of grip. Whatever it was, it gave Andy Merrick the momentum. Once he saw the Audi bunching over the grass, the left side of the car, he knew that the Audi was going to have to back out of it. There is the view from Andy Merrick, or from our view of Andy Merrick in his office, with that dinky little sort of steering wheel. Let's look again and see what went wrong into Abbey. The pace of the Bentley forcing an error from Stefan Ortelli, and that was a rare position. Ortelli, momentum was lost. Bentley swept around the outside as they came through Farm Curve and then took the track position.
So whereas 2 laps ago we were suggesting Ortelli was the man to watch to catch de Moussier, now this is the man, Andy Merrick. So he starts 27 seconds back from number 98 McLaren. Let's see what he could do.
His last lap was quicker than the 2 lead cars. In fact, it was the quickest lap of anybody, a 2:03.883. Where's the pace coming from? Is it Andy? Is it the Bentley? Is it a combination?
A drive-through is about 20 seconds. So if you were to take 20 seconds for Guy Smith's penalty out of that margin, he'd be a heck of a lot closer to the McLarens. This is still an excellent performance, given the drive-through.
Absolutely, and I mean the drive-through has spoilt the day in some respect. But Guy Smith recovered the position as best he was able to do. Andy Merrick again backing that up with a superb run so far in the middle, where we're coming up close to what would be halfway through the second stint. We're coming up in 8 minutes time to halfway through this 3-hour race.
At Monza we talked about how well the Bentleys were going, and could we get a podium finish out of one at Silverstone. On this evidence it is a real possibility. Now Alex Buncombe has done his usual wonderful job in his opening stint. He's in the pits. Jan Mardenborough's here to cheer him on as well. But let's hear from Alex. He's with Jack.
Alex, another great first stint from you, and you've handed over to Nick with a healthy lead.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a really good stint for me, and unfortunately at the start, what I thought was going to happen did. The Porsche in front of me was a bit slow, ran cops, and got passed by the, I think it was Estre and the McLaren around the outside. So I think I got past the Porsche into Stowe, in the end. And yeah, I just wanted to try and hold on to the McLaren for as long as I could, and they were a few tenths a lap faster, but yeah, I just wanted to, get my head down and continue the stint. And yeah, at the end of the day, we're P1 in the class, which is the main thing.
And Jan, you were part of this series last season, and you've learned to move on, and now doing Le Mans and GP3. What is the process like for these young guys? What sort of an opportunity is it for the likes of Nick McMillan?
It's a great opportunity for these guys. I think, yeah, of course, I started here 2 years ago, and yeah, I mean, Nick is pushing a lot in the car, and these guys behind me, they're all going to be pushing as well. And yeah, I'm just here to support them and just give them some advice. And I've got a really good mentor here with Alex, and they've got a lot of mentors behind us as well. So hopefully they can get a lot better in the car and improve, so they can race maybe in the future at Le Mans.
Brilliant, thanks guys.
Well, there we are on board with Andy Merrick coming through Chapel Curve, down the famous hangar straight where there used to be hangars. This used to be a satellite Second World War bomber base, and and all those hangers have now long gone into Stowe corner. Still a great corner, carry a lot of speed up to the apex and then drop down. Easy to get it wrong in the exit, and if you do get it wrong, there's a barrier on the right hand side just waiting to welcome you into its rubbery grasp.
Although so far we've not had too much damage, have we? We've had quite a lot of incident, we've had a lot of drama, but apart from Ryan Ratcliffe's big off.
Well, we had quite a lot in practice, free practice, then qualifying practice, then of course qualifying itself, but then track conditions were way, way inferior to those that we are enjoying this afternoon. It's a beautiful afternoon here at Silverstone, middle teens Celsius, winds blowing, taking a little bit of the temperature away if you're in the exposed areas, but if you get out of them, it's glorious.
The incident early on, incidentally, between Renat Salikov and Ryan Ratcliffe, when they touched at Copse, no further action is being taken against those cars. Look at this in the traffic. Andrew Smith in the Akuriakos BMW up on the inside. Joe Osborne, who is a lap ahead, is on the outside, wriggling his way through traffic. It's like a giant arcade game, this, isn't it? You have to weave your way past cars all the time.
Well, that's the beauty of Village Corner and Loop. It gives you flexibility to do whatever you want, and because the track is very wide in the entry, it offers up those opportunities. As we see the two lead McLarens, the gap between them. Oh, is that a problem? I thought it might have been a problem that right rear. No, it's not.
That's the car that leads the Gentleman Trophy. 458 Alexander Matchell in the car that he shares with Frank Schmickler, and they are ahead at the moment of this car, Julian Westwood's car. He has taken over from start driver Ian Loggy. Team Parker Racing run the car, Stuart Parker's team, and then third in the Gentleman Trophy at the moment is the AF Corsa Ferrari, the Jean-Marc Bachelier, Yannick Maligot, Howard Blank car. It's the blue and white Ferrari that's been spotted being lapped on occasions in the course of the race, but he's running strongly for a podium finish, seemingly within the Gentleman Trophy at the moment.
Just glimpse the back of Stefano Telli going through Copse as he's trying to run down Andy Merrick.
There is the third place car in the Gentleman Trophy. That is the now Howard Blank driven Ferrari. There are some liveries that work on Ferraris. I'm not entirely convinced I like that one, but it is different.
It's the only colour that really works in that car is red.
It's red,
yes. In reality, and it makes it look much wider than it is. Just the styling impression, those stripes, the way they broaden out over the bonnet.
Those two Mercedes getting themselves together is a battle for position. It's 8th place, Harold Primat ahead of Lucas Wolf, and Primat has lost time to Wolf in this stint because he was a lot further ahead early on. Lucas Wolf going well. That is the number 4 Audi yet again, grinding to a halt, this time with Pierre Hershey at the wheel.
Yes, and it's coming back in limp home mode by the looks of it as it comes down. And there's the Jaguar still, of course, retired some 30 minutes ago on the right-hand side, fairly safely against the barrier.
But if that car is going to limp round, picked up pace again.
Yes, it's picked up. Maybe he's rebooted it because you've got systems on the car. You can reboot the whole electronic system, and that appears to be what's done. Of course, pits to car contact would enable the pits to tell the driver which switches to flick on, which ones to turn off. So he's got it refired up, and he may not even need to make it back into the pit lane.
So there is 80, which is Nick McMillan, now leading in Pro-Am. Second in Pro-Am is Joe Osborne in 38, and 107 is third Andrew Howard now. Nick McMillan, of course, is a much less experienced driver than is Joe Osborne. His last lap was a 2 minutes 5.7. Joe Osborne's was a 2 minutes 4. So it's going to be number 38, Aston, before long will take over the lead of the class. 2.3 seconds between them. That gap coming down and down.
Well, how good is Mark Poole, who's going to take over from Joe Osborne? Is he at the level of...
No, but he's not a bad am at all. Joe Osborne, Richard Abra are the two guns in that car. Mark Poole is an above-average amateur, I would say.
And then we've got Florian Strauss, who's going to jump into the Nissan, so pretty much even Stevens between the last stint drivers, respectively.
It's going to be interesting. And 107, which is third, Andrew Howard, is again an above-average am these days, having won the British GT Championship last year. So it's going to be interesting to see how that car fares, whether it loses much time. There it is. We can see how far back it is at the moment in class, a long way back.
Yes, it's third of a lap behind second place Joe Osborne. But we've got just coming up to the half distance of this race, a long way to go. And we've yet to see any significant interruption into the pace of this race. It's been a fast pace from the moment the lights went out.
Absolutely right. There is 107, Andrew Howard. Fourth in Pro-Am is Michele Cerruti's at BMW. And then fifth in the class now is the Alessandro Bonaccini Ferrari, but I think there's a lot to shake out of that before the end of the race, as down towards Copse Corner goes 35, which is now that car
down 17th place.
Yeah, the Nissan being hustled on by Stanislas Askanov, who did not do the Monza race. He's new to the championship for this weekend, but good to have him in the series. Up front, it is still Kevin Kyrgios leading the way, now 10 seconds, nearly 11 seconds ahead of Gregoire de Moustier. And I can imagine Alvaro Perret being a bit miffed about de Moustier's pace. He did everything he could in the first stint, and within, what, 2-3 laps of his stint, de Moustier had lost the lead.
Well, he works for McLaren. He did his job.
He did, that's
got
true,
pole
yes.
or didn't get pole position. He all but got pole position. He led the race from the lights going out. You know, he can only do what he does. He can't control Gregoire de Moustier. He can't control anything else. All he can look to is what he does in the car.
There is de Moustier, who first came into the championship driving in the Pro-Am class with Duncan Tappy. In fact, they were class winners at Navarra together 2 years ago, and now he runs in second spot. Now, his last lap was a 2 minutes 5. Andy Merrick's class was 2 minutes 3. So is the Bentley.
Well, you're seeing the Bentley going into Stowe. We just saw the McLaren exiting through Vale into Club. The gap last time around was 20 seconds. Now, whether that gap will be reduced on this lap, it should be.
Looking back from the Nissan at what's going on behind.
And we've got an Aston Martin with its lights on. Well, there's a surprise. Do you think that's an indication that the Aston's going to drive through?
This is for the class lead.
So class lead indeed.
Nick McMillan leading Joe Osborne. They're absolutely nose to tail. Joe Osborne up the inside. Done it.
No brainer.
There you go.
Easy.
And in fairness, Nick McMillan was probably well advised to let him go, because Joe's a much more experienced driver, and if they can bring that car home to the end and get good results and good experience, then that's what they're after as much as anything. So they can also perhaps come back stronger in the third stint of the race, in the third hour. But a change for the lead in Pro-Am.
It'll be down to Mark Poole and Fabian Strauss in their respective cars to see whether any change will arise. Certainly Joe Osborne driving the Aston very, very well indeed, and Neil McMillan doing the job he's there to do, consolidation. He's not there racing in the sense that we're seeing Joe Osborne, who is attacking Silverstone much, much more aggressively than Neil McMillan.
So the Aston leads the class. So again, we're having interesting shuffles around. We mentioned, incidentally, that you've got a former Duncan Tappy teammate on track. Duncan, it is currently number 8 Bentley. That was delayed early on after its puncture, but in 26th place currently is the number 8 Bentley.
Just to go back to the battle between second and third place, Andy Merrick has got that gap down on lap 43 to 18.5 seconds. That's a second and a half a lap quicker than Gregoire de Moustier. In fact, it was almost 2 seconds looking at their last lap times. So Andy Merrick, still a big mountain to climb, 18 seconds, and probably got another, what, 18 to 20 minutes behind the wheel. So it's conceivable that we could see Andy Merrick run down Gregoire de Moustier in the second place McLaren and challenge for that position.
And then for the third stint, Alexandre Premat versus Stephen Kane. That's quite tantalising.
In my view, you know, it's got to be with my countryman.
I just thought I'd feed you the line, John.
Well, I mean, it was, again, how obvious, how obvious.
Indeed so, but that's going to be quite a fight. Alexandre Premat, new to GT racing this year. Now, this is a replay of how Joe Osborne took the class lead, could barely be closer at Stowe.
Yeah, he just came out of Stowe much quicker than the Nissan was. Slightly hesitant and thinking, will I get the inside line? Will I be given the opportunity to make a clean pass? Joe Osborne just being hesitant to know whether McMillan would have been as cooperative as he proved to be. And that's just thinking as you're in the position before you commit to it.
Battle on here. 85 Lucas Wolf, 1 Cesar Ramos. Now they've both got ahead of 84 Harold Premat in a Mercedes that Nico Verdonk had in the top 6. And I was suggesting it could be a car to watch. Premat has chucked away a whole round of time.
My friend, hero, Bernd Schneider, he'll get in and drive the wheels off it, undoubtedly. But what he's going to have to do is make up all that ground that has been lost. And as great a driver as we know Bernd Schneider is, he can only walk on 2 legs, and he's got 2 hands and all the other bits. He's not anything more than human.
Exactly right. So Ben Schneider has got a lot of work to do in that 3rd stint. Now this battle, savour it, 8th place, Lucas Wolf versus Cesar Ramos. And the two of them run together coming out of Aintree now. Ramos is getting quicker and quicker as this stint wears on. He's looking more and more impressive as he becomes more comfortable in the car, potentially. Down they come to the end of Wellington Straight. And this for 8th place overall, for 6th in the Pro Cup.
Well, there was 3/4 of a second on the lap across the line the last time. It's going to be less than half a second. Or to all intents and purposes, he couldn't get any closer to the tail of the Mercedes until he actually overtakes.
Over the timing line goes now the Mercedes. That lap from Lucas Wolf was a 2 minutes 4.9, a couple of tenths quicker, Cesar Ramos. But we've seen this in the past in the championship, haven't we? The drivers can battle on, they can catch, and then when they get close to the car ahead, the balance of performance is such that they really struggle to find a way through. And if he's not careful, Lucas Wolf is going to get entangled with the Boussingignon McLaren that's doing rather acrobatic curb hopping.
Yes,
there.
and that's all manner to heaven for Cesar Ramos, because he's seeing the difficulty that Wolf is having in the Mercedes, and now we're cutting back to what's going on here down at Vale.
This is for 5th, and that's James Nash versus Joe Osborne, and this is at Stowe, and it is Lucas Wolf versus Cesar Ramos. Both of the Team WRT cars are in a fight.
Yeah, and Cesar Ramos lost out. He had the advantage coming onto Hanger Straight, but he lost out in straight line speed, even with the benefit of following the McLaren getting a 2. He couldn't actually overtake the Mercedes down into Stowe, so he's going to have to do it somewhere else. His best place might be into Vale if he can stay close around Stowe. The rest of the racetrack, maybe if he gets a good run out of Aintree down Wellington Straight, have a way of looking down the inside into Brooklands. Quicker, you can see through Abbey. Maybe a little opportunity coming up to Village Corner. Still a little bit too far behind.
Behind them, incidentally, Harold Primat, 10th in 84 Mercedes. He's losing close to 2 seconds a lap to this battle, even though they're squabbling. And there, Joe Osborne right on the tail now of James Nash. James new to GT racing this year, but he's got a good pedigree in touring cars and in Formula Ford. Joe Osborne knows his way around this car very well. This is a great little fight.
Great drive by Joe Osborne. I mean, we've seen him pass cars because he's just driving more quickly. And now he's on the tail of James Nash in that WRT Audi. This has not been their weekend so far. Still, what, an hour and 24 minutes to go. But nevertheless, there's the battle that's going on for Cesar Ramos. Getting sort of bogged down at the pace of the Mercedes-Benz, loses the momentum, and consequently is going to find a bit of a struggle. Best chance will come when they catch up to some slower traffic again, and that might give Cesar Ramos the opportunity to put the Audi alongside and get ahead of the Mercedes.
Quite impressed by Lucas Wolf here, because he's doing a good job, better than at Monza. Now he's had a bit more track time in this car. Disappointing, Harold Primat falling away. Now down towards Stowe. 5th overall you're looking at, and it is James Nash ahead of Joe Osborne. 3/10 was the margin at the start of this lap.
Let's watch and see down Vale. Is the Aston going to make a punt down the inside? Not anywhere near close enough to think about it. Next opportunity will be on the exit of Farm through the left-hand curve into Village. It's really all now about nip and tuck all the way around this 3.7-mile Grand Prix circuit. On the straight, on the exit of Club, into the very committed Abbey Corner. Then the long curve of Farm Curve, which then opens up, enabling you to take a different line. You can see Joe Osborne much wider, James Nash taking the tighter defensive line. Then it's sort of still even Stevens till they come to this frustratingly narrow, tight loop.
Battle on here for 8th, still Lucas Wolf just ahead of Cesar Ramos, who's getting ever more toey about this, isn't he? He's getting quicker, he's getting closer, tries to find a way through on the approach to Village, can't do it. Wolf defends very well.
And also he just has got that little advantage on acceleration. Maybe the torque of that large V8 Mercedes engine just enough to give it a little bit of a shove out of a corner to keep the Audi behind the V10, 5.2 litre V10 Audi engine.
Good effort by James Nash, though, defending from Joe Osborne, who's charged up onto the tail of the Audi, but now has got stuck. He can't find a way through.
Shock, horror. 3rd place to 2nd place, 11.2 seconds in the space of 4 or so laps. been calling it pretty much every lap. We've just taken our eyes off it. Andy Merrick has almost halved the gap in the space of about 6 laps.
I'm glad you mentioned Andy Merrick, because it gives me a chance to give you Bentley news. The reason that John Wickham went to see the race director was multi-driver infringements. It was tyre spinning, leaving pit stop, overtaking under yellows and improving times under yellows. So it was a general, go and have a word with them, John.
I did see the tyre spinning, but you know, these tyres are not put into blankers. Joe Osborne
up the inside, he's done it. That's 5th place, it changes at Stowe. Good move. James Nash didn't make life unduly difficult. Fair pass.
I think James Nash felt that he's had a lot of pressure from Joe Osborne for the last few laps. He's been hanging on by his fingernails. On this occasion, the momentum was with Joe Nash and the Aston Martin, and he looked like he was on a mission. Right under the rear wing, perfect overtake. James Nash stays clean on the left-hand side. He accepts that finally the Aston has found its way through.
Whereas Cesar Ramos is still busy trying to find a way past Lucas Wolf here. Ahead of them is Andrew Smith in the Ecurie Cross BMW that seems to get in every shot. We've talked about it a lot, and Andrew Smith is no slouch. Very good in this car, very good in historics, but he's going to go a lap down here against the 85 Mercedes.
But this is the chance for Cesar Ramos.
It is, isn't it?
It's an opportunity. The Ecurie Cross, I was going to say Jaguar there, almost a Freudian slip, taking me back to the days of great Acosta victories at Andrade and Le Mans a little bit. So Cesar Ramos doesn't really gain anything out of that because of the generous usage of the racetrack by the Ecurie Cross BMW. And where is the Audi? Well, it's almost again hidden under the rear wing of the Mercedes coming down Wellington Straight.
Ex-Formula 3 Euro Series racer Lucas Wolf, and then behind is Cesar Ramos. Bentley update, John.
2 seconds a lap is taking out of Greg Van der Mussier. So Andy Merrick is doing a blinding job bringing the Bentley back, not into the top 3, but potentially before the stint ends, which has probably got another maximum 20 minutes, maybe 18 or 19. I can see an overtake coming and Bentley coming into 2nd place before the pit stops rise.
I can go along with that, yes. 27.6 was the margin when he got up into 3rd place and we started monitoring it. Now it's 9.8, which is very impressive indeed. So as the battle swoops through Beckett's 8th place, Lucas Wolf just ahead there of Cesar Ramos. The Nissan up the road as well, they're closing. That's McMillan's car, isn't it? So it's going to be 7th, 8th and 9th very shortly. Is this going to be a chance for Ramos? Because if Wolf is busy attacking, he might just leave the door open.
Well, he might have a focus on the Nissan and maybe momentarily forget about what's going on behind, but Cesar Ramos cannot stay close to the rear of the Mercedes. It pulls out another couple of car lengths on Hanger Straight, and that's frustrating for Cesar Ramos. He knows he's capable of lapping quicker on his own, but he can't put himself into that position to make it stick.
Join us at Butlins for a May half-term break and your first child goes free. Book now at butlins.com or call 0800 222 555.
Deposit £10 and I won't just double your money, I'll triple your money. And then add some more. Spreading the jackpot joy.
Why is no one dancing? Come on, let's get this samba party started. Better believe it, ladies, because these hips don't lie.
Yeah, Red. Shake it like it's hot.
You hear that, people? That's my body talking.
They can't get enough of us, Red.
Wait a minute. It's not our moves they can't get enough of.
Uh-oh.
Time to do the quick step.
Limited edition Brazilian M&Ms.
Presenting the Skechers Go Walk 2 with a lightweight and comfortable Resolite sole. They're a walker's second best friend.
Where could you meet someone amazing? At adults.co.uk, you'll find a choice of thousands of men and women. Whether you're looking for long-term love, an older partner, or maybe just someone to meet for a casual encounter, adults.co.uk could be the fast and easy way to make it happen. Best of all, it's free to join. So go to adults.co.uk and find someone new today. Adults.co.uk. Dating for everyone.
At Giacomo, men's style is understood. You want a rematch? We've got the gear that matches you perfectly. Plus, all the latest looks to keep you looking good this summer in sizes small to 5XL. You want the summer heat? We have the cool shirts you'll feel comfortable in. With big name brands in sizes exclusive to Giacomo and 10% off your first order right now, why wait? For the book, call 0800 980 1180 or go to giacomo.co.uk.
I love a man who knows about diamonds.
There's no finer sight in motorsport than a field full of Ferraris flying round a track. The Ferrari Challenge Europa Mugello Trofeo Pirelli, Wednesday, May the 28th at 7:25 in the evening on the high-speed television channel.
Seconds, just over 5.5 seconds adrift of Demusquier.
You could almost say a mesmeric drive.
Oh, you could say that if you were so inclined. But it's a cracking job that Merrick is doing, and I totally agree with you, John. The change is going to happen on the track, not on the pit stops.
Very much so, and I think it's a great drive. We're seeing a lot of great drives. This battle again. Dump the inside into, can he quite make it stick? Again, that's the use of traffic that's going to be Cesar Ramos's greatest ally as they all come onto the straight. Of course, he's getting squeezed onto the grass by the McLaren, but he can use the McLaren slipstream. It pulls over to the left. But look at the gap. Look how much it's opened up. Quite simply, all that bit of traffic now. And the straight line speed of the Audi has been its real Achilles heel here this weekend.
Stefano Ortelli in fourth place, still dropping back and being caught by Joe Osborne. Ortelli's last lap was a 2.6 against a 2.3 for Osborne. Is that just traffic?
I would assume it's traffic. I mean, we're now finding pockets of traffic all around the racetrack, and if you catch it just at the worst possible place, wherever that might be for you, sometimes actually it's in the very quick corners because everybody's so committed to what they're doing. But here Cesar Ramos lost out massively. Andy Merrick, now let's see, can he see? I think that's the, if I'm not mistaken, there's the McLaren, the second place McLaren turning into Copse. The gap down to 1.7 seconds.
Andy Merrick is driving the race of his life.
4 seconds and 1 lap.
Fantastic.
Well, that is traffic. Come on, John, smile. We know him so well.
He's got an hour and 14 minutes to wait, then he might smile. But at the moment, Andy Merrick is rising to the occasion. He's got to get past 35 here, which is the lapped Nissan. He's on the hanger straight now. And whereas at Monza he was defending, here Andy Merrick is attacking for all he's worth. He's got to dive up the inside of the traffic now.
Yes, and Grégoire de Moussier has got past one of those cars. He might sneak through. It's hard to tell. I think he might just have. Well, he hasn't. It's hard to tell just looking forward. The BMW directly. Merrick's going to go down the inside. And there is de Moussier trying to pass the Ferrari. And they're sort of tripping over each other as they go into Vale. Ferrari now holds up the Bentley. Andy Merrick's going to have to get up the inside on the exit of Club. So as he gets a good run down into Abbey. Ferrari, of course, quick in a straight line as well. Merrick on the lights. The Ferrari not yielding. It should do as a lapping car, so he should let the Bentley go through, which he does. And now there is the battle for second place. And Grégoire de Moussier will hope that the Bentley passes as quickly as possible to mitigate any embarrassment he may feel.
The green Ferrari is being driven by Vadim Kogai, and that's the only time we've had cause to mention him in the entire race. So
doing a really good job.
Absolutely, an outstanding job and consistent job with Monza. Indeed so.
I'm sorry, I didn't mention the M word.
Meantime, the other M word, Merrick, is on the charge still. In the first sector, he was 9/10 quicker. In the second sector, 2/10 quicker. It's game on.
Well, he's caught Grégoire de Moussier. Now, let's see how long it takes the Englishman to pass the Frenchman. A little bit of chop on the steering wheel just to settle the Bentley into the long Luffield corner. So he's run down the McLaren in the space of 20 laps, and impressively so now on the run past the pits, the start-finish line. Grégoire de Moussier, as is often the case, is almost stalling out the Bentley as John Wickham again. Half a second, less than half a second in fact. He's looking at himself on camera.
I don't smile.
This is the problem Merrick's got. His pace has vanished because he's caught up to the back of the McLaren. He's having to wait for de Moussier to get on the throttle. The same old story about momentum, but he's going to get him at the end of Hangar Straight this time. He's got the position, he's got the pace, he's got the slipstream, and now all he's going to do is hope that de Moussier goes left. But de Moussier is staying on the inside line. What's he going to do? He didn't manage it. It's strange. The pace of the Bentley catching up to the back of the McLaren was outstanding. Now he's behind him. He's beginning to struggle. As Gregoire de Moussier realised that this is a battle for position.
And he's got to do something to salvage this, because for 11.5 minutes he needs to be behind the wheel of this car. Can he defend for another effectively 5 laps? The last thing that the team needs is for a car that led to arrive in the pits third because of one driver's relative pace.
Andy Merrick sticks the nose of the Bentley into the mirror of the McLaren as they go through Abbey, and right in perfect position, de Moussier trying to use the car to its full effect. Merrick's going to have to go the long way around. He might get the cutback as de Moussier does he run wide. Merrick gets alongside, but again de Moussier on the inside. Merrick's trying to stick, but he's going to be forced wide, has to get out of the throttle. So de Moussier may not be quick, but he's clever.
He's got wide elbows, very sharp elbows. He knows how to defend. Andy Merrick right on his tail. Andy Soucek getting ready for his stint in the McLaren. As down Wellington Straight comes Andy Merrick to go to the inside. Is there room? Yes, he's done it!
But there might be a slick of white paint down the outside of the McLaren, but it was inevitable, and it was a hard move. Sometimes you've got to do these things to get the job done.
Is that the drive of the race so far? That's
absolutely. But look, de Moussier's trying to come back. Suddenly he realises that, you know, well, maybe I am a racing driver, maybe I've been keeping it all in reserve, but whatever the situation for de Moussier has been, he's been run down by Andy Merrick and the Bentley by the best part of 21 seconds in this stint. Suddenly now he's back at the races.
Well, I have a feeling that by the end of this lap, the gap will have widened again. He's kind of, as you say, been stung into action, but Andy Merrick has got better pace. Look, the gap's widening now. And so Gregoire de Moussier tried to retaliate, but Merrick got it.
It was one of these cases of, is he going to let me through, is he not? Will I or won't I? And they just, well, actually, maybe there wasn't any contact. I'm looking to see if I can see any McLaren paint down the side of the Bentley. I don't think there is. I think it was very close, but no contact. So
this puts the pressure on.
Stephen Kane's getting ready as 2 thumbs up.
This puts the pressure on Alexander Premat, doesn't it? Because he now is going to take over a car that did lead and has been dumped down into 3rd place. There's number 3, which is James Nash. The car behind is the Bentley, which is currently being hustled on in 22nd place by Jody Fannin, who's never raced this car before, so he's not doing a bad job. So the order is Kevin Kyrgios ahead of Andy Merrick by 27 seconds. 3rd is Gregoire de Moussier. 4th is Stefan Ortelli. 5th is Joe Osborne. 6th is the Audi there, being unlapped by the Bentley James Nash. 7th is Lucas Wolf. 8th Cesar Ramos. It's still not changed. 9th is Nick McMillan. And 10th is a rather subdued Harold Primat.
Well, the battle I'm going to keep an eye on is that for 4th place. Right now, there's an 8.5-second gap between Ortelli in 4th, Joe Osborne in 5th in the Aston Martin. But that gap is closing down. We've seen the fastest personal best time for Osborne in that 1st sector. So the Brit in the Aston is chasing again an Audi, this time driven by the redoubtable Stefan Ortelli, who will be harder to overtake.
Still quite a few laps to go before we need to worry about the next round of pit stops. Ramos still can't do anything about Lucas Wolf, who I reckon is doing a good job here. He never really shone in Formula 3, but he's doing okay.
He's doing a very good job because he's been pressurised for quite a long time, and it's been close for Ramos getting up alongside and passing the Mercedes, but again, use of the traffic for Ramos. He's got to find a way to make that traffic work, but he's being slightly cautious because the Ferrari is also trying to race, which it doesn't need to do. And in fact, unfortunately, he says Ramos finds himself having to go the long way around, losing time around the exit of Aintree, and that's really not necessary. The Ferrari should have got out of it, let these 2 cars battling for position, putting a lap on the Ferrari, should have let them go, and he's interfered in a battle which was a battle for position, which was in fact 7th place.
Coming through the stadium then, so the Audi, James Nash, who is over a minute away from the leaders, and number 1, Cesar Ramos, even further back. So WRT has a mountain to climb. It needs a safety car in the last stint to salvage anything out of this, really. And Wolf getting away from Ramos now by 2 seconds.
I don't know if I want to see a safety car. I mean, it would certainly bring the field closer together, and sort of like it's a reset on your machine. It's a race again. Well, now here's my car of the century, the Porsche 911. In 50 years of manufacture, it has won every race that's worth winning. Sadly, Frank Pereira not partnered by somebody who is capable of doing the car justice, but that's the difference between running in Pro Cup and Pro Am. Into the tight village corner and then the little squirt up to the loop. So the traction of the Porsche against the mid-engine BMW Z4. And that is a quick car, albeit they had the benefit of qualifying where changeable conditions under the red flag, but history book doesn't tell you that. The Porsche was on pole.
Ben Schneider in with 66 minutes to go. The car 10th. It's out of touch for a win, I'm afraid to say, because Harold Primat has lost a lot of time, but it could salvage some more places back before the end. So Ben Schneider gets 66 minutes behind the wheel.
Absolutely mesmeric. He will be just... I've never seen a driver in a GT car that is just so unbelievable. And I mean, he's not a spring chicken. He's in his early 50s. He should be retired. He should be retired in his lederhosen back in Germany, slapping his thighs and singing.
Well, that's during the week. At weekend, he goes racing. Keeps him young, you know. So down the pit lane goes Ben Schneider. That car just on the cusp of the top 10. 35 Nissan has just come banging down the pit lane. And that is there. Ferrari also in for tyre change and fuel. As far as the leaders are concerned, I reckon they've got another 6 laps potentially to go before we need to worry about the ART cars. So that's an off going off.
Yeah, the second of the 2 Nissans. So let's see where Neil McMillan, who took over from Alex Buncombe. Alex Buncombe doing, as usual, a great job. So we've got Neil McMillan down in 9th place. This is the sister car in the pits, having its driver change, tyre change. And McMillan just ahead of Primat in rounding out the top 10.
Yeah, Miguel Fascia will take over this car, having crashed on his outlap in the wet in the bronze test on Friday. And it was at the start of the session, lights went green, everybody drove out, we got as far as Beckett's and off it went into the wall.
Well, actually, he got to Chapel.
Oh, he said Beckett's.
And he wouldn't know what Beckett's was from Chapel. I got it from the horse's mouth. The guy that repaired the car, he got to Chapel, and in fairness to him, the track was saturated, and he just aquaplaned off and into the barriers.
Did a lot of damage.
A huge amount of damage.
But it's good he's on the route.
Bob Neville and the Nissan GTR team did a great job in getting that car repaired, took it back to their base, and got it straightened out. Damaged one of the chassis legs, which is a major feature of the Nissan, because all the front of the car hangs on those chassis legs.
4.5 minutes we are away from the end of the middle hour, and that's the target on fuel to try and get to the hour mark. 44 is in, which was Ahmad Al-Hafi, and it's going to be the garrulous Michael Caine who will take over for the last stint.
Just looking at what Gregoire de Moustier has done, we're sort of being maybe unkind to him a little bit as the Bentley comes in. Merrick's in, and there's going to be Stephen Kane in. A great drive by Merrick. But de Moustier had kept that gap between second and third to 2.5 seconds. So he had actually sort of rebooted himself. And then when he hands that car over to Andy Suchek, sorry, I beg your pardon, it'll be... sorry, Alexander Premat, getting confused with the 2 cars. Alexander Premat will take over from Gregoire de Moustier. And it will then be Andy Suchek who takes over from Kevin Kujus. That's going to be the lead car just steaming away.
Now, Kane has got into the car. He has got 64 minutes effectively to do. 63 and a half, I suppose, now, as he sits there ready for the pit stop to end. Tyres go on, but that car pitting relatively early before the hour mark. Stephen Kane gets in. Interesting strategy.
Yeah,
I mean, still pound on.
I mean, the team know exactly the amount of fuel this car has been using. We know that Andy Merrick has driven the wheels off it on his stint. But take it out easy, Stephen. Don't spin up the wheels.
Oh, he stalled it, didn't he? He got it going,
but just about caught it, and but he got it going again. But not spinning the wheels is the key. This Ramos, Cesar Ramos has come in. Yeah. He's got tired of sitting behind the Wolf and the Mercedes-Benz. There is the number 7 Bentley making its way down the pit lane at 30 miles an hour, 50 kilometers. Now he can accelerate out the long right-hand curve that leads you up from the exit of Cops Corner. What's the problem with the Ferrari?
Very slow Ferrari, the Valet Lemeray Albert car crawling through the Beckett's S's. Right, the race-leading car is that, 99. So Kevin Kujus, it is the Estonian, who's former Renault Euro Cup champion, GP3 racer. leading the way. Driving standards flag for 200 Jody Fannin now for track limits as the tyres go on to the number 1. Now Laurens Vanthoor, Audi. Right, magic wand in hand, Laurens Vanthoor. You've got to do something here.
Well, if anybody's going to do it in an Audi, WRT would expect Laurens Vanthoor to do it. But it just looks to me that Audi this weekend have not found the sweet spot of their car. Where they appear to be losing most, to me, is just simply their straight line speed. Cannot match others around them. They may be quicker in a lap, but if they can't use that performance because they're being basically stalled out in the straight, maybe the decision to go with the setup was maybe based on weather more than track conditions as they are right now.
Could be the case, couldn't it? So we're almost at the end of this middle hour, running for the 60-minute dash to the flag. And we'll see where Stephen Kane is after the next round of pit stops for the McLarens. Is he going to stay in second place? Andy Soucek is ready, the Spanish driver, ex-single-seater champion, ready to take over as Jody Fannin comes down the pit lane in the other Bentley. There's a drive-through penalty being given for number 10, which is the Larich Armindo Clement BMW, and also a drive-through for 111, which is the Earl Kramer Marcus Mai Ferrari for the Gentleman Trophy for track limits. I mentioned those. We've got them out of the way. It doesn't affect the leaders, thankfully, at the moment.
Well, there is the leader. And Andy Soucek is ready. So is this going to be the in-lap? It looks like Andy Soucek is standing in position to make that driver, or to affect the driver change. Kevin Kojus has done a very, very good job in the 99 car to take the lead from Grégoire de Moussier very early into the stint, and has just extended that advantage. Currently it's 33 seconds. Yes, he is in the pit lane.
So 57 laps have now been completed, a bit earlier than I was anticipating actually for that car, but it's in. Kevin Kojus has done a great job. So good a job has it been, we've barely seen it because he's just been out there pounding away, building up the lead. But of course he had to overtake and get the lead. A job well done.
Interesting. Andy Soucek's got a seat filler because Kevin isn't what I would call the tallest of drivers, but Andy Soucek putting that seat filler in. And the sort of the contortionist that you have to be to get into a GT car with the obligatory roll cages, the way the seat molds around the driver. The seat belts are attached to bungee straps, so they pull away when they're released. But then you've got to pull them back. You've got the crutch strap with the buckle attached to it. You've got to then do the harness up, the whole 5-piece harness up. All that's done. Now they can jack the car up.
And there's the sister car in the background. They're both in.
Okay, so they've come in virtually. Did the Moussier car get one more lap, or was it that far behind?
Done exactly the same.
30 seconds behind, so that's the difference.
Yeah. So 57 laps apiece.
Stephen Kane. So Stephen Kane is hopefully thinking, can I maintain the second place? As that is the third place car. That was the race leader. Now the lead car with Andy Soucek is making its way down the pit lane and will regain the lead comfortably as Stephen Kane makes his way through Aintree.
So the battle is on for the last stint between McLaren and Bentley for the honours. There is 98 Alexandre Pramat. So that car, we know, dropped to third anyway because of de Moussier's middle stint.
It's going to be close with that car going back out on track, because Alexandre Pramat is going to be at the pit lane exit about the same time. I think the Bentley is coming through and maybe exiting Copse. But there is the Bentley coming out of Woodcote, so it's actually going to be maybe game to McLaren.
Well, if that car of Prema comes out in second place, there's something not right in the pits for the Bentley because it's lost a chunk of time.
Well, they've done a lot of work on their pit stops. Where's the McLaren? Can't see whether it's come out of the pit lane or not. There it is, just ahead of the Bentley. Bentley have been working on their pit stops. They knew they had to improve. They've done a great deal of improvement, but maybe quite not enough.
There it is. Bentley's second. There it is. That's 19.
Okay. There's another 8 car, similar
so
car.
That is Alexandre Pramat. So the order is as you were. It is the Kevin Est, Kevin Kojus, call me Kevin, Andy Soucek, McLaren leading the way. Bentley number 7 is going to be in second place. Stephen Kane at the wheel of it. Now at the moment the race leader is Stefan Ortelli, but that's because he's not yet pitted to give the car to Greg Gilbert. But it's a notional race leader. In real terms, 99 McLaren is the leading car. And that car that's third down the hands of Alexandre Pramat as it goes down through Vale. So the battle is going to be between at the wheel of 99 Andy Soucek and Stephen Kane there in the Bentley. And at the end of this lap, we'll see what the gap is between the two.
Well, Stephen Kane really, really running it wide, coming out of club corner. He looked down the pit lane again to see what it is. Ortelli's car in. Stephen Kane on his first flying lap.
Just to mention, this now puts Joe Osborne into the lead because he's yet to stop. Ortelli giving way to Greg Gilvat, Santalot regular. Sandstrom and Ortelli new to Santalot this year for the Blancpain Endurance Series. Stefan's work is done. He walks away, the fuel goes in. Greg Gilvat gets ready to go.
So Jack's down, and then this slow process as there is the, yes, it's the lead McLaren. Andy Soucek behind the wheel. And we're looking at the Audi, as again, there's two people can only make the tyre change. One.
Soucek to Kane is 21 seconds. There's the third pace car, Alexandra Premat, who goes over the timing line now. But it's 21 seconds between Andy Soucek and Stephen Kane. And we have got 56 minutes in which Stephen Kane has got to drive the race of his life.
I think so. Even if Stephen Kane drove the race of his life, matching Andy Soucek in the lead Audi is going to be quite a difficult task. Andy Soucek is very quick, and he's got the comfort of that 21 or so second advantage there. Stefano Ortelli recalling his drive, and he puts his heart and soul into his motor racing. So passionate in everything he drives.
And still competitive, still quick. Maybe not as quick as some of the young guns, but he can still deliver over the course of an hour stint, and he's proved that again.
A great competitor.
Yeah. And a great asset, good development driver, good test driver. So Stefano Ortelli has given away now to Greg Gilvat. We've got 55 minutes to go. Gilvat's car was the leader when it came into the pit lane. There it is. So at the end of the next lap, we'll have an indication of the real race order. There's Joe Osborne still staying out, but Soucek versus Kane. And the gap in the first sector has come down by 0.4 of a second between the two. Go, Stephen, go.
Say nothing. Say nothing.
There's a long way to go.
It's a long way to go. 55 minutes. And still they've got a beautiful day here at Silverstone, just looking skyward. Look how wide, running again, so cautious. There is Joe Osborne, who currently is leading this race, and can't be that long before Joe Osborne's going to make his entry into the pit lane, coming onto Hanger Straight. Good drive. He'll be happy with this. He'll go back and say, I've enjoyed this race. 3-hour racing on the Grand Prix circuit at Silverstone. That's about as good as it gets.
So coming out of Stowe, the number 38 Aston turns through and accelerates then now down through Vale. So 38 it is, the leading car, but of course with another pit stop to make to put the owner into it, Mark Poole. And this at the moment, more significantly, is the leader of Pro-Am. Now, meantime, for the real race lead, Soucek to Kane was 21 seconds. It is now
19.8.
It's getting there.
It's getting there. Yeah, I mean, I think the Bentley right now has been the star of the race. I mean, McLaren and MRT, or not ART, have done a blinding job there controlling the race, but it's the pace that Bentley has shown. We can say Guy Smith made an unforced error, penalised by driving through for a pit stop penalty or a drive-through penalty. But the Bentley's pace, genuine in qualifying, and most certainly genuine in the race.
Let me offer you another thought. The gap between Soucek and Kane is 19.8 seconds. A drive-through penalty is 20 seconds. There is a case to answer that had it not been for that, the Bentley would be leading the race.
Yes, but you know, if my auntie had a beard, it should be my uncle. Ifs, ands, or buts. Let's deal in realities. He's 19.8 seconds behind the lead car in effect. Joe Osborne still staying out, so he actually is, in reality, the lead car.
Yeah.
But he has got to yet make his second and final pit stop.
But I fear this gap is going to grow, because in the first sector, Stephen Kane lost 0.3, and Andy Soucek has just done the car's best in the middle sector. And when Stephen Kane goes through the middle sector, I fear that the gap will have grown between them. Now, car number 84, Ben Schneider, has been another one being
Ben Schneider ignoring track limits. Well, that's almost sacrilegious. The man walks on tarmac. He's that good.
Well, so much tarmac does he walk on, it was on the wrong side of the white line, so that's why he gets the warning, you see. The gap is growing, I'm afraid, because Stephen Kane has lost a couple more tenths in the middle sector, so...
Traffic. Got to be traffic. But it doesn't matter, because Andy Soucek lost a similar amount of time when he was going through this. This is the ebb and flow of endurance racing, and whatever you have at a given point in the circuit, you might pick up time, you might lose time. And basically, I think the difference in the two cars McLaren and the Bentley in terms of lap time is probably virtually negligible. Just it's getting exaggerated depending where you might meet that traffic.
At Amigo, we think it's time for a different kind of loan, where people who've been turned down by the bank could borrow up to £5,000 with affordable repayments, where you simply need a guarantor, and where there are no fees. You can pay back early, no problem, with a representative 49.9% APR variable. Come to amigaloans.co.uk, the all-new, good old-fashioned loan.
Skechers memory foam is like a bed for your feet. Built-in memory foam insoles provide a gentle, comfortable cushion. Feel the difference with Skechers memory foam footwear.
Engine overheating, exhaust smoking and steaming, coolant drips, white deposit on your oil filler cap. These are all signs that your car's cylinder head gasket might be failing. Replacement could be expensive, as well as having your car off the road for a while. Steel Seal is a simple, quick and effective solution to cylinder head gasket failure, getting you back on the road fast and without a big repair bill. We guarantee results or your money back. So if your gasket is failing, use Steel Seal.
You can't win a game of football on your own. You can't conquer Mount Everest on your own. You can't even win hide and seek on your own. So why try to win the lottery on your own? With a Win Trillion syndicate, playing hundreds of lines for the world's richest lottery prizes is a breeze. Just a click or two and you can join from as little as £5. Get more chances, play more lotteries, have more fun with wintrillions.co.uk.
At TalkTalk, we always want to give you more. That's why all our packages come with 100% totally unlimited broadband. No caps, no limits, and we'll never slow you down. Simply want broadband? It's only £3.50 a month, plus £15.95 monthly line rental. Or for £5 extra a month, get TV and calls too, with our lowest price TV package. It comes with a free YouView box, so you can enjoy over 70 Freeview channels. Scroll back to see shows you've missed from the last 7 days and watch catch-up TV on your TV. So whether you want TV, broadband and calls, or simply broadband, our totally unlimited broadband packages start from £3.50 a month plus line rental. Call 0800 542 7348 or check online for our best deals at talktalk.co.uk/TV. TalkTalk, a brighter home for everyone.
See what he can find out. He's had a good lunch, so he's now fueled, ready to go and investigate further. 16th is not where you anticipate that car to be. 8th is where Lance Vantor is. Now, Lance has done the car's best first sector. His next target is Greg Gilbert, but he's 15.5 seconds back, so they've certainly made life difficult for Vantor, haven't they? Because his two co-drivers have not really sparkled.
No, Lance Vantor doing his fastest lap 2:02, which is very much in the zone of the fastest laps of anybody here so far. And we're now into the third hour of this 3-hour event. So track conditions remaining really, really good, very consistent. Now that we've got rid of all that horrible weather we had on Friday and on Saturday, and more rubber going down on the track to replace that was washed off. So in theory, track conditions improving, which of course suits the tyre.
Yes, a wet Silverstone is something you don't often find. Be live. As I said earlier on, number 38 has yet to pit, and when it does, this is going to really spice up Pro-Am. You're looking at the moment at number 26, which is Greg Gilbert, being held up a little bit by the Mercedes, but that car is in a genuine 6th place. Hubert Haupt in number 19. He's about to lose the place to Greg Gilbert, but after Andreas Simonsen spinning on the first lap of the race, that green and black Mercedes for Black Falcon has come back into the game.
And he may not have given up that position, because the Audi took the inside line and had to run wide and lost momentum, so the Mercedes back in contention. So let's see what happens on the straight. We know the Audis have not had the best straight line speed here at Silverstone this weekend. Little flinch from the Audi coming through the final bit of Beckett, and the Mercedes has had better straight line speed. Pick up the slipstream, get under the rear wing, try and use that. Watch for the Audi to see what's going on with the Aston, watching every move from behind. Going one way, then no, nothing can be done. Aston Martin sits and watches the battle between the Audi and the Mercedes, and surprise, Mercedes wasn't in the position to take advantage of the toe down Hanger Straight, to put himself in position to try and take that corner away. Joe Osborne still out on track, and we've got 46 minutes of this race remaining, leading the race. Last lap, 2 minutes 03.339. I mean, is that car maybe the next future of fuel conservation? Because it's seemingly making fuel, not burning it. There we are, getting ready now. So it will be in at the end of this lap. Great drive by Joe Osborne. Great job by the Aston team.
Marathon stint. It's going to be one very empty tank of fuel, isn't it, that? Just going back to the Hubert Haupt Mercedes, that's yet to make a second stop. So although it's competitive, it's in a kind of phony position. It's yet to make a second stop. But this car, likewise, still, I think, could be on for a Pro-Am win. And that would be a mega result, wouldn't it, for the team?
At the minute, if Joe Osborne, replacement driver, is going to drive at this pace, they're going to win that Pro-Am Cup without any problem whatsoever.
Well, the other car that's going to be against has just pitted. Number 12, Nick Katzberg, has come in. He's got to give number 12 BMW back to Henry Hessid. They were the Monza winners, weren't they? So let's see whether or not it should be an Aston Martin versus BMW fight, this.
Well, Mark Poole will be getting behind the wheel of this Aston Martin. I mean, it really has been driven the wheels off it. Joe Osborne sliding the car coming out of the loop and then through Aintree down this there's not Hanger Straight, Wellington Straight, under the bridge, into the braking zones, as I have a little break myself, and then that long, reasonable corner, and then Joe Osborne will cut across back in to the pit lane to make his pit stop and hand over to Mark Poole.
We understand number 3, the James Nash car, had electrical ground lens on the pit stop. That's why it lost all the time. So very, very disappointing that, because this is now down in 14th place. We're getting a drive-through penalty for number 19, Hubert Haupt, for causing a collision. So that Mercedes we've just been talking about, of Hubert Haupt, drive-through.
Who was the collision with? Don't know.
Don't know. Haven't seen. So pass on that one. Right, Joe Osborne, Joe Airborne, as he was known when he started. He had 2 rather spectacular Formula BMW crashes in his very early days of racing, but he's matured into a very good GT racer. He gives way to Le Patron. Mark Poole gets on board.
So is Le Patron up to scratch?
He won't be as quick
as adequate. Not as quick as Joe
Osborne or Richard Abra, but he will not disgrace himself. I think I said earlier on, he's a kind of above average am, really, is Mark Poole.
We've got 2 trying to help do the seatbelts up. And you can imagine the stress and panic when you get into the car, having had such a fine stint by one of your drivers, and then getting those belts buckled up, getting the crutch strap attached to the main waist part of the seatbelt, then there's 2 shoulder straps buckled in, and one little bit of panic sets off a whole chain reaction. Still not really finished all the work with the driver change. There may be a drinks bottle somewhere in the car that's getting attached to the driver, and then the radio plugged in, and cars coming off the jacks. It's all set to go, and the driver's set to go as well. Mark Poole drives that Aston Martin out of the pit lane and most likely will retain the lead of the Pro-Am Cup.
So 43 minutes to go, and there's still an awful lot happening in this race. So now it is going to be number 99, Andy Soucek, who leads the way, and he is 16.9 seconds ahead of Stephen Kane. Where did we start? 21 seconds.
21, yeah. I mean, it's sort of ebbed and flowed, I think, principally because of traffic, but Stephen Kane has done what Andy Merrick did in his stint. Oh, Aston Martin in trouble on the bow. Now, what was that? That sounded to me like 2 cars getting together, going backwards into the wall of the barrier, just under the bridge on Hanger Straight. A heavy impact on the right rear. Look to see again, was that something just in isolation? Was it because he ran wide coming out of Chapel, which it could easily be? Remember, the grass at Silverstone is absolutely saturated. There's the Lees that the second? Watch up and see. Oh yes, that's what I have. Well, just totally self-induced. And of course the grass is soaking wet, lubricates the tyres, which then have no grip when you come back on the tarmac, and a heavy impact in the right rear. Thank goodness you've got crushable structures on these modern GT cars. That'll have taken most of the impact, but way off. And that's what happened in the Nissan on Friday.
Safety car. We have a safety car. You can see now we've got two in the same part of the circuit. I was about to suggest it's a good job the Aston didn't slide further and hit the Jaguar, and the race director thinks I don't want two cars left there. We'll have a safety car. Now then, this throws everything in the air.
I wanted to say safety car deployment.
Go on, John. What's happened? Well, with 42 minutes to go, we get a safety car.
Who's going to be the winner out of this one then, would you think? Stephen Kane.
Hopefully. It's not picked up the leader, first of all, so we need to see where Stephen Kane is
in relation to the safety car deployment. Well, you need to see where Andy Soucek is. Who's between Andy Soucek and Stephen Kane as well?
So 1 to 8 off the...
Well, there is a Bentley, but I think that might be the privately entered car.
Might be right. Let's see. I never understand.
Backing into the concrete wall on the driver's left. The impact itself wasn't too bad at all.
Yesterday, too many children like John didn't eat. Today, they'll go without food again. Weak little children going hungry every day. John's swollen, painful tummy is empty. He is only 2 years old. His tiny body is severely malnourished. John's mum does all she can to feed him, but there simply isn't any food at home. Today, too many sick and hungry children will go without food. Tomorrow, too many will die from hunger. We can't let that happen. Please call Save the Children on 0800 035 7744 and give just £2 a month. There are 3 simple ways you can help stop the hunger and save lives. You can save lives immediately by giving sick, hungry children nourishing emergency food. You can help give them regular checkups before they become sick. And you can help give communities the tools and support they need to grow their own food. With these 3 simple ways, you won't just be saving lives today, you'll be changing lives tomorrow. Please call Save the Children on 0800 035 7744 and give just £2 a month. Too many children like John won't eat today. Please, make sure they eat tomorrow.
Why have just one chance of winning the lottery when you could have hundreds? With a Win Trillion Syndicate, you get hundreds of chances to win the richest lottery jackpots from around the world. With combined jackpots reaching over £500 million and over £100 million in prizes every single week, isn't it time you started to get more chances, play more lotteries and have more fun? With wintrillions.co.uk.
From sunrise to sunset. Lightweight, comfortable, flexible. Go walk, only from Skechers.
There's no finer sight in motorsport than a field full of Ferraris flying round a track. The Ferrari Challenge Europa Mugello Trofeo Pirelli. Wednesday, May the 28th at 7:25 in the evening on the high-speed television channel.
Was attacked by Stefano Comandini. That punctured the tyre of the Bentley and it had to pit and lost a lap in the process. Drama when Ryan Ratcliffe was hit going into Copse Corner by Rinat Salikov. Salikov had a punctured tyre, but Ratcliffe's tyre went down a few laps later and threw him off the road at Copse in frightening fashion. Guy Smith had a drive-through penalty for allegedly overtaking under a yellow flag. He reckons he didn't. The observer reckons he did. And at the first round of pit stops, 99 was the leading car. Alvaro Perent gave way to Gregoire de Moustier, but de Moustier could not match the pace of the Spaniard. 98 was given over from Kevin Estre to Kevin Kyrgios, and he was soon in the groove, and he was able to get himself onto the back of the race-leading car and make a move on the inside heading into Stoke Corner that put him through up into the lead. Andy Merrick did a great job in the middle stint, hustling on. First he caught and passed Stefan Mortelli, and then he set off in pursuit of Gregoire de Moustier. Merrick hard at work, driving one of the best races of his career, as he's given Bentley a great chance for a podium finish and maybe even a win. Joe Osborne put himself up into the lead of the Pro-Am class with a marathon stint. He also worked his way through some of the Pro Cup cars, picking off James Nash heading into Stoke Corner. John Wickham, the Bentley boss, looked on as Merrick made his move up on the inside to snatch second place away from de Moustier, and then pitted early to give way to Stephen Kane, who now takes the fight to the number 99 McLaren in the hands of Andy Soucek, who took over from Kevin Kyrgios, who did a great job to build up the lead. But now the safety car has eradicated most gaps anyone could built up. ART Grand Prix brought both cars in on the same lap. They turned both of them around in good time, and they rejoined first and third in the same order in which they came into the pit lane. More battles took place on the start of the third stint. And then we had a spin going through Village for the number 35 Nissan, which has now been given over to Miguel Fleischer. 43, the Monza winning BMW served its stop. Hubert Haupt had managed to stay out for as long as possible, but lost track position to Greg Gilbert, which put the number 26 Audi up into fourth place. And then number 128 had this accident with Andy Schultz at the wheel. The car ploughed off the road, thumped the wall, just avoided the already parked Jaguar, and that has brought out the safety car, with the first two cars behind it being out of position. They were allowed past. And now the scene on the Hanger Straight is one of retrieval of both cars, which of course takes a bit longer and therefore eats in a little bit to our remaining race time. Now let's catch up, if we can, with Alvaro Perent, race leader after a good stint. He's now third, and he's with Jack.
Alvaro, how's the safety car worked out for you?
Well, it's a difficult question because Alex didn't get much driving in the dry in this track, so he was just out there for 5 flying laps. He was doing okay, getting in the rhythm, but then we've got an Audi very close, and now closer because of the safety car. So it could be good and it could be bad too. Fingers crossed, you know. He's going to try and attack and push and get the best out of the car and see if he can keep the guys behind and catch the guys in front.
It's going to be close for the lead as well, isn't it?
No, it's going to be very close because the Bentley is going very fast. So it's going to be interesting end of race for sure.
Thank you.
Deposit £10 and I won't just double your money, I'll triple your money. And then add some more. Spreading the jackpot joy.
Go further with Go Nutrition Sports Nutrition. With over 500 supplements and foods, Go Nutrition delivers premium sports nutrition products with a full money back and lowest price guarantee. And right now, selected Go Nutrition bundles are half price, starting from just £22.58 for 4 select products. Go further with GoNutrition.com.
Bad dog. Bad home. Bad health. Bad food. Good food. Good health. Good home. right dog. For rescue dogs, the right nutrition is the first step to a brighter future.
Okay, which one of you losers nicked my deodorant?
Who'd want to smell like you?
Who would have smell like you?
Nice, mature.
Zip it, shrimpy.
Dan, eat a Snickers.
Why?
Because you turn into a right diva when you're hungry. Better? Better.
You're not you when you're hungry. Snickers. Get some nuts.
Join us at Butlins for a May half-term break and your first child goes free. Book now at butlins.com or call 0800 222 555.
Skechers memory foam is like a bed for your feet. Built-in memory foam insoles provide a gentle, comfortable cushion. Feel the difference with Skechers memory foam footwear.
Just ahead, 4 cars ahead is the race leader, and who's going to slow it all down, and in his own time he's going to squirt on the throttle and have the benefit of clear air, and it'll be Stephen Kane's job to try and find his way through those 4 cars as quickly as possible. There he goes.
He blasts away. The man behind him is Henry Hasid, who wants to unlap himself to try to get back in the game for Pro-Am honours, but I don't think he's going to be able to. And is that allowed, overtaking like that?
I thought you had to wait until you got across the start-finish line.
Well, I did, but anyway, some Ferrari drivers electing to go.
Yellow flag, by the way, still coming through Woodcote.
So, not something for the race director to resolve. No argument about the leader, so Andy Soucek pounds away, and on the restart, let's see where he is over Stephen Kane, who's still stuck in traffic. Stephen, of course, can't overtake, so he goes through 5.4 seconds adrift, and he's got to work his way through back markers, so Soucek now can build this advantage.
Yeah, and I mean, Soucek used that back marker of the traffic behind him, which was some of the slower cars, to his advantage, and Stephen Kane, who's really got to just stay cool and not try and do too much too quickly, because that's where mistakes can come in. He's got an opportunity down the straight to make up at least one of those positions. But there you can see Soucek, he's got about 6 seconds advantage in the space of half a lap.
So Stephen Kane is going to have to work mighty hard now. He pulls to the inside to get past the number 3 Audi, puts a lap on Frank Stippler, and then he's got the Ferrari just up the road. It's been a little bit cheeky already by overtaking before it got to the timing line. The Bentley team looking at a podium finish, even if it's not going to be a win, but it could yet be a victory. You never know. Stephen Kane, with 30 minutes to go, is going to really drive his heart out here, isn't he?
Yes, and I mean, he's got to get past the Ferrari, and it ain't necessarily going to be anything easy. There's the gap leader going into Abbey as Kane just comes out of club, and that's going to be a minimum of 6 seconds, probably more in reality, and Stephen Kane has got 2 more cars ahead of him to find a way past before he can get close to the back of the McLaren.
Something odd has happened on the restart, because Alexandre Premat has dropped back into 5th place. He's been mugged by Greg Gilver and Mark Poole, who have gone 3rd and 4th, and so the second of the ART McLarens that was 3rd has fallen to 5th on the restart.
I suspect there's been a bit of skullduggery going on at that part of the field under the restart, and we'll wait to see what happens to Alexander Premat. He'll not be particularly happy about it, and of course there it is coming. No, it's not. There it is there.
Yeah, so through goes now. He's actually got back ahead of Mark Poole, but he's lost a place to Greg Gilver. So the Audi that went so well at Monza is going well here, and has really carved its way back into contention after that first stint by Sandstrom. Leader goes through. Andy Soucek has done 69 laps, and the advantage he's got over Stephen Kane is 6.6 seconds, because Stephen's still in the traffic.
Yeah, he's just finally got past the Ferrari. He's been more than a lap behind the Ferrari.
Now let's hear from Andy Merrick, because he drove a great stint in number 7. The car is going strongly.
Andy, is this doable?
Can I tell you in about 25 minutes? I think it's a bit of a long shot. I mean, obviously Stephen's in the car now, and so far the lap times he's been doing are fantastic, and we saw in my stint that comparatively to the McLaren, I think we're quite good on our tyres. So we'll see. I mean, I know that you know, Kaney's always an aggressive little Irishman in that car. So I'm glad he's in it. He'll be pushing like mad. So let's just keep our fingers crossed. I think either way, it's going to be a good battle.
It must be frustrating with the drive-through penalty penalty to know that that time difference ultimately would see you in the lead effectively.
Yes, I suppose so. But you know, we were dealt with it, so we need to forget about it for now and just you know, carry on as we were. And I think that's the instructions that we were all given after it happened, and just get our head down. And that's exactly what I did from a stint, and it was pretty exciting, to be honest. You know, there was a lot of traffic, a lot of overtaking, some great racing, especially with the McLaren. And I think it was Demustier who was in the McLaren, and he very good hard racing, but it was fair as well. So that was it was good to see.
Thank you. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Interesting comment from Andy Merrick. Yeah. Stephen Kane, an aggressive little Irishman. Well, Andy Merrick, you're lucky you didn't race against me, my friend.
In this first sector of the lap, Stephen Kane is fractionally quicker. In the second sector, he's fractionally slower. He's still got, of course, that BMW to get past as well. So Andy Soucek's still looking very, very strong indeed. Michael Caine there, looking the Aston Martin, working his way through traffic. Michael currently trying to play catch-up. That car lost a bit of ground early on. And as the replay comes, this shows you how 98 ended up losing places. Oh,
what was Alexander Primet doing? That is the 98 McLaren getting it all wrong in Luffield. Clearly, that was the restart. Clearly, the brain and the foot were not connected. And there you see him. That's Joe. That's the Mark Poole in the Aston Martin going around the outside at Woodcote. And well, I don't know. What can I say? Sometimes I wonder. Kevin Esther sitting in the pit lane, looking and wondering and watching and hoping that this is all going to work out in his favor. And right now you have to think it's going their way. 6.3 seconds is the gap between the Bentley in second place, still behind the BMW, but with a toe coming down Hanger Straight. Pulls out, gets alongside. Can he get it under? The BMW is not going to give up. Well, it has to now. Stephen Kane used all those qualities that was explained to us just that moment or two ago by Andy Merrick, and gets the Bentley. Now he's got clear sight of the race leader, Andy Soucek. 6.3 seconds was the gap prior to this lap. What do you want to think? Under 6 or just at 6?
Well, he's certainly pressing on, and we've had the change for the lead of Pro-Am as well, because Florian Strauss has got past Mark Poole. So despite the fact that Joe Osborne had done a great job, that safety car didn't do them any favours. It bunched everybody up, and so the Nissan has benefited on that safety car. Florian Strauss has gone past Mark Poole. The gap is 2.8 seconds, and Mark Poole is doing his best to fight back. This long traffic jam comes towards us. In third place there is Greg Gilbert. And you've got in fourth place Laurens Vanthoor, who is still hunting him down as well. So there's still a lot to be resolved before the end of this. 25 minutes to go.
Yeah, Laurens Vanthoor consistently lapping 2.2s. But in fact, 98, quickest car on the track. Right, I'll be looking this time. That's not. It's catching the best lap, not the last lap.
Look at this.
That's unbelievable. That's for,
and that's your Pro-Am leader.
Absolutely, and it's just caught in the middle of the bunch. And the Aston Martin is not a million miles behind, probably about 5 feet.
Florian Strauss and the Nissan. We know he's good on a PlayStation. Now he's got the real one to weave all the way through the traffic, and he's got an Aston Martin bearing down on him as well. So we know he can deliver, otherwise he wouldn't have got the drive. This is his view, and he's hard at work. There's a lot of arm twirling going on in the cockpit of the Nissan as he applies the power coming out of Aintree. Florian Strauss, really now he's going to earn his reputation.
And almost 3 cars wide coming down Wellington Straight, under brakes. And this is messy because it's going to, you know, which you've got the inside, you stay where you are, you take a punt maybe around the outside, gets alongside on the outside now coming into Luffield. Can he hold it around the outside? Never easy, because the car on the inside, there it is, the Ferrari, it sweeps up. You've got to get under the throttle, and what's happening beside us or behind us? I'll tell you when we get an outside view camera.
I don't think that this is one of the tests in the competition, is it, to do a 3-hour race with traffic all around you, but it's perhaps the next thing to build in, because of course now he's leading the class, he's under pressure from that car. Admittedly there's a Mercedes between, and that's the one that's third in Pro-Am, and Henry Hassett has hit something or somebody, and he's got damage on the front right of the car.
Is it a suspension damage, is it bodywork, or is it the tyre that has let up? But certainly there's bodywork rubbing against tyre. You can see the level of smoke that's coming from that right front of the BMW. There it is, going even more slowly now. But look at this mess, absolute shambles of cars.
And it's going to get in the way, isn't it? Vanthoor up the inside of Alex McDowell. And number 12, having run wide, has got a possible puncture here, but he's going to get in the way. Look, he's trying to pull out of the way of all of these quicker cars that come storming past him. Whoa.
Reminds me of NASCAR.
It is a bit, isn't it? Everybody escapes, and there 85 Mercedes runs way wide. That's Steph Dusseldorf now in 6th place. Ben Schneider's not far behind, I don't think, either. So you've got back markers, you've got lead battles for position, all coming into Village. What a scrap.
Dives down the inside. Is that... Which of the McLarens is not the lead McLaren? It's one of the other...
It's the Putin Junior car.
It is, yes. The two side by side.
Yeah. And Dusseldorf is 6th in the red and white Mercedes. And Schneider is with him. So you're going to have the two Mercedes together in a moment. Here they come down Wellington Straight. The all-white one is out of Ben Schneider. But diving to the inside, lights are flashing there. Is Steph Dusseldorf. And Schneider thinks, yeah, OK, let's see how good you are. You get through the traffic, make me a gap, thank you, and I'll come through behind. He's not there just yet, is he?
This is when you retire from motor racing, then you make a comeback. You wonder, did I do the right thing? I mean, when you're racing with a group of maybe a dozen or more cars, as we're doing right here, that's focusing.
The lead gap is down, John, 4.7 seconds. Stephen Kane to Andy Soucek. 22 minutes to go. It ain't over yet, this. It's turning out to be one of the best Blancpain races we've had, I think, for a while, as the leaders work their way up to the Beckett's S's once again. Stephen Kane has done the best of anybody in the first sector. Stephen Kane has done the best of anybody in sector 1. He's absolutely flying, as here Dusseldorf is stuck in traffic and Ben Schneider is all over him like a cheap suit. 6th and 7th, absolutely together.
Watch and see what Schneider does on the straight, because clearly he's the more thinking driver of the two. Whether he's got any more performance as the Dusseldorf car gets up alongside the idea, and Schneider's trying to sneak up the inside, does it as well. Sometimes you use your car, your body language, to signal the car you're overtaking. There is that BMW in the pits, damage to the right front. Not quite sure what caused it, whether it was a puncture or whether it was suspension damage. You can't really see any significant body damage to the car.
So the Mercedes fight continues, coming up towards the completion for them of lap 73. In the meantime, Florian Strauss to Mark Poole in Pro-Am. That gap's going up. It's now nearly 6 seconds. There's a nod of approval from Nissan about this. So 6 seconds it is, give or take, 5.8. Florian Strauss, of course, in his first full season of racing, doing a remarkable job. Stephen Kane quicker in sector 1 than anybody. He's quicker than the leader in sector 2, so the gap should come down as Dusseldorf almost get hung out to dry by Dennis Anderson there in the Ferrari. Dusseldorf is keeping Ben Schneider at bay, though, isn't he?
He's doing a very good job. I mean, it's just all about momentum, and particularly when you're coming up through back markers, trying to pass. I mean, all you can do is just sit there, and as you pointed out, gap down to first and second, under 4 seconds, 3.7 seconds. So I know it'll be an amazing conclusion to this 3-hour race if we see it that back. There is the lead car coming through the exit of the Beckett's complex. There is Stephen Kane in second place. You can see his hands, the flurry of hands on the steering wheel, and this is a chase to the finish.
It is a mighty job. Don't forget that McLaren as a car has had many years of development and lots of different teams running them and bringing back data. This is a car in its first full season, and the car is up here fighting for a victory.
The best part of a second on the last 2 laps and 3/4 of a second on the third of those laps. I mean, this is, well, Stephen Kane doing what we've seen both Andy Merrick and Guy Smith do. This car has been quick all day, and they made great improvements within the pits. Remember, it also that drive-through penalty.
Yeah, exactly.
We keep referring back. I mean, minimum 20 seconds lost. In reality, had that not happened, this car would be leading the race, in my view, by a comfortable margin.
And then you can use your if and but line again, John, can't you?
Oh, I've forgotten about that. Move on. Never look back. Move on.
Another best first sector time by Stephen Kane. 2 laps in a row. What's he taken out? 0.4 of a second. It's a remarkable effort, and he ain't given up yet. We're into the last 20 minutes of the second round of the championship. And now Andy Soucek continues to lead, but there in his mirrors is the Bentley. It was an Aston Martin victory here last year. Can Bentley this year score victory, or will it be another British brand in McLaren? Down towards Brooklands, and another 7/10 pull back in the second sector by Stephen Kane.
I mean, it's an outstanding drive, but a great job by the entire Bentley team, because M Sport Bentley have come into this basically a rally team. Malcolm Wilson built stunning rally cars for Ford Motor Company. He's done a stunning job building this Bentley. Alistair McQueen, a part of the whole project, somebody who I worked with back in many years ago in Group C when Jaguar were winning world championships. and many more are involved. Look, the tension in the Bentley garage is almost palpable.
Gregoire de Moustier's team manager
that was Alistair
being summoned to the race director. Now, I wonder if that's for his drama behind the safety car on the restart. Could well be. So is there going to be some offence and a penalty for the second of the ART cars?
I mean, for such a large car, it looks really beautifully balanced. The whole sort of spring damping roll bar package that they've got on the Bentley is outstanding.
Lead gap 2.6 seconds. There, Stephen Kane turns his way into Stoke Corner. Andy Soucek is ahead of him. Stephen Kane.
What I'd love to know, we don't have it on this particular timing and scoring screen, is what is the top speed of the Bentley vis-a-vis the McLaren, for example? Is that where the car is picking up all this time, or is it just all around the circuit? Because we know the car's got very, very good traction. It's very light on its tyres, so it's not using the tyre as aggressively as others it's racing against. Where's the time coming from?
It's interesting, isn't it? As Stephen Kane, I think, made a bit of a mess at the end of Vale that time. He would have lost a fraction of time. He was 3/10 up in the first sector, but he may well have lost a bit of ground in the middle sector. 17 3/4 minutes to go. Still, he continues to hustle on. Andy Soucek leading the way. There is Stephen Kane, who makes his way now onto Wellington Straight. We have got 17.5 minutes to go. Malcolm Wilson can smell a podium here. Can he sense a victory, maybe?
I think he would love a victory. He's happy to be. He's getting beaten up by the VWs in the World Rally Championship, and to have Bentley take a podium here at Silverstone would be a dream, and the potential to stand on the centre podium would be outstanding. There he is. Once you get within that zone, I mean, it's like a laser gun. You just laser on the back of the car, and you just start to bit by bit pull the car closer to you. It gives you momentum. And of course, the converse situation is for Andy Soucek. He's feeling this pressure. He knows that he's under pressure. He knows that the clock is ticking away. 16 3/4 minutes. This 3-hour race remaining. So look at it. Right into the second part of the Beckett's complex, and again you can see the Bentley's very strong through that middle part of Beckett's complex. Now onto the straight through Chapel Curve, run the car out to the side of the racetrack. And is the top speed of the Bentley superior to that of the McLaren? The gap visually not only just in the clock, 1.5 seconds when they came across the start-finish line last lap.
How relevant this is going to be, I don't know, but I'll throw it into the melting pot. Don't forget that Stephen Kane has got to go because of when the car pitted. 2 extra laps on this last tank of fuel, and he's also asking a lot out of that tank of fuel and tyres in this charge. Now, is Andy Soucek looking after tyres and fuel? Has he got anything in reserve? Whereas Stephen Kane is throwing everything at this. Is he going to be okay to get to the end on fuel? He's done another best of anybody in Sector 1.
Well, the team have got the engineering. They know how much fuel is being used. They know what's in the car. They know what they can do. And right now, in the situation, they're probably more than delighted to see this car on television in conjunction with the race leader. And if they run the car flat out, get the lead, which is conceivable, 15 minutes remaining, and Andy Soucek has been unable to counter this attack coming from the Bentley.
And then I suppose if it can get the lead, Stephen Kane can then make it a very wide car and start to throttle back a little bit, just stick out his elbows.
It is pretty wide as it is. Yes. And it is a very large car, but it's one of those cars that's extremely light on its wheels and tyres. It's coming down Wellington Straight again, the gap down to, well, the best part of a second, maybe just under a second, as they come through Brooklands, and then a short squirt up into this frustrating, a different line from Andy Soucek, whereas Stephen Kane hugs the curb pretty much all the way around. Soucek makes a more clear, defined apex, very late apex, comes across start-finish line, the gap 0.6 of a second.
What a drive. Quicker in all 3 sectors. Stephen Kane good on the brakes. He throws the car into Copse Corner. 15 minutes of 3 hours remain. Is Andy Soucek on borrowed time, or can he defend for another, what's it going to be, 8 laps?
14 minutes, so yeah, it could be maybe 7 laps, just depending where they are when that gets to the last hour.
Stephen Kane has seen that McLaren get bigger and bigger and bigger. The closer and closer and closer he's got. That's one of the Boots and Gignon cars limping down Hanger Straight with dramas. That won't be an issue, I don't think, for the leaders. They'll be able to go charging past easily enough. But if that car continues to limp on, it might get in the way of others. Leaders are safely through first sector. Kane's even quicker. Kane is even closer.
Well, if he's going to swoop and pass the McLaren, he wants to do it in one swoop. If you get bogged down behind the McLaren, it'll be the same as we've seen from everybody else who catches but then struggles to pass. It's that whole issue about keep your momentum. It's carried him forward by the best part of 3/4 of a second a lap on average. Now he's right under the wing of the McLaren. Can he maintain that pace?
Promising, isn't it, for Stephen Kane? Quicker in that first sector. He's almost on the back of Andy Soucek, but Andy rarely makes mistakes, so Stephen's going to have to work for this, and he's closing right up under braking going into Village. He works the brakes on this car, bigger car as it is, very hard indeed, up towards the loop now. Can he get a tighter line out of the corner?
But car looks much better coming through the loop, and that little squirt again down into Aintree, then the run down. So there's bits of the racetrack clearly, sorry, not Andy Soucek, that Stephen Kane has got a performance advantage. Again, sticks the nose of the Bentley into the mirror of the McLaren just to frustrate and annoy Andy Soucek. Again, watch the different lines. Soucek stays wide and up the inside, not quite, but he may be side by side as they come out onto Woodcote.
He's going to do it, isn't he, on the inside? He's got the line through Woodcote, he's got the line for Cops Corner. Bentley leads, coming across the timing line. Fantastic! Stephen Kane leads as he crosses the line, and that is on merit. That's not on pit stops, it's not on luck. That is on merit. A new car to the championship goes ahead of the McLaren. Big cheer from the Bentley boys. Big despondency from the ART Grand Prix engineers. 12.5 minutes to go. Stephen Kane leads the way.
They can't believe it. ART cannot believe it, bearing in mind that Bentley had a drive through Guy Smith.
They can't believe it either.
I mean, Andy Merrick.
Breathe, Andy, breathe. What a race, what a drive by Stephen Kane, but we're not done yet. We've got 12 minutes to go. I'm still moderately concerned about fuel here, but let's not ruin a good story for the moment. The Bentley leads going into Stoke Corner. Can Andy Soucek offer anything in retaliation?
No, and what Stephen Kane can do is now, if he so chooses, having used the car to get to the lead, he knows that it's probably unlikely, unless something unforeseen should happen, that Andy Soucek has got the performance to come back. So he can now start to back off, particularly on the engine, to keep all he's got to do is keep the gap where it is. That, a second and a bit gap between first and second. Unless Andy Soucek finds himself in a position where the Bentley is being embarrassed by a back marker, well, he's going to have to accept that he has no more performance. Going to be a second place for ART.
And as I suggested a little while ago, Stephen Kane can make the car even wider if he needs to. Now, how is your man Schneider doing? He's 6th at the moment, 42 seconds away from the leaders, but 1.3 seconds back he was from Steph Dusseldorp at the start of this lap. Well, let's hear from Guy Smith, because he probably can't believe all of this. Let's hear what he has to say. Guy Smith is with Jack.
Guy, when you were handed that drive-through penalty, I don't imagine you thought you'd be here at the end of the race.
No, I mean, it was. Obviously that was a huge blow, but it just proves that the hard work from the guys at M Sport Team Bentley done a fantastic job. The pit stops, made a huge improvement. We actually gained some spots in the pit stops, which is fantastic. And Steve and Andy have driven fantastically as well to come back. So it's a real team effort, but still a long way to go. Still a couple of laps to go yet, but I think we can be proud of our performance either way now.
And driving at this pace, are you still okay fuel-wise?
Yeah, everything's good. The car's great, good on fuel. I think we're pretty comfortable, no problems at all.
Brilliant, famous last words. Congratulations, Guy.
Thanks.
But I don't want to be sort of, as you say, put the mockers on it, but it's still just 10.5 minutes remaining, and there is the gap. It's for the best part of 1.5 seconds. Andy Soucek has to run right out to the edge of the racetrack. Let's watch again and see how Stephen Kane put the Bentley. Bentley's just got more grip in the corner, gone alongside Soucek. Soucek gave room, which is the right thing to do, but then the initial punch off the corner, Kane on the tighter line was still able to get the traction, get the power down, to get alongside and get ahead of the McLaren coming through Woodcote.
And that's the ideal place for it to happen, isn't it? The Bentley in front of the BRDC clubhouse makes its move. Stephen Kane charges through on the inside in front of the team. Fantastic.
I don't want to go near the BRDC suite tonight, because all the good old boys who may have driven Bentleys in their time, and there is the team, but still 9.5 minutes to go. And there are guests from Bentley from all over the world, from the Far East, the Middle East, wherever. And if this proves to be a success for them, as it looks it is going to be, well, what a great story. And there, Bert Schneider, we're getting a bit of a fit of the head staggers as he comes down into Stowe, and he's not been able to do anything with Steph Dusseldorp for that 5th place, which is, in fact, Dusseldorp has been able to pull away We've got now 2 cars between those two squabbling Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah, Schneider's stuck behind Alex McDowell, who is in 16th place. The other Bentley should make a quick reference to the fact that number 8, Antoine Leclerc, is now in 17th position, having lost its lap early on with a punctured tyre. And they've chipped away to try and bring the car up the order, but all the attention is around number 7 in this race, isn't it? And Le Mans winner for Bentley, Guy Smith, has done a great job. So too Andy Merrick. And we made the point about that drive-through penalty. Well, hopefully it's not going to be an issue. 1.5 seconds is the margin, and just over 8.5 minutes to go.
Well, all Stephen Kane needs to do is control the lead, and part of that control will be maybe just short shifting a little bit, just instead of going to whatever the limit is of the V8 Bentley engine, knock it back 500 RPM, roll the car into a corner, lift off and roll it in, brake less aggressively. It makes so little difference to your lap time, but it can save you considerably on fuel usage.
So what have we got? 4 more laps, give or take, as the race leading margin is 1.5 seconds. And in Pro-Am, we ought to point out that Florian Strauss has got away now from Mark Poole, but they are a lap up, effectively, on the next car, which is in the hands of Eugenio Amos, or the best part of a lap up on the 43 BMW. So the Nissan is heading for a class victory. Another great job done.
Absolutely. Nissan, Alex Buncombe did a great job in the initial stint to get the car into position. It's been consolidated by Florian Strauss now in that final drive. And I mean, likewise with the Aston Martin, with Joe Osborne, now Mark Poole behind the wheel. Those 2 cars and you would call their amateur drivers have excelled, I think, all day.
Yeah. Yes, it goes to show the strength of that driver training program, that's for the evaluation that's part of the Nissan PlayStation GT Academy. 7 minutes and change on the clock. Number 90 Ferrari has not really drawn attention to itself in this race like he did at Monza, but Francesco Castellacci here is 5th in Pro-Am. And how's Michael Caine doing? He is currently 11th, hustling on behind Frank Stippler for 10th place overall. Stippler's Audi has had a pretty awful last stint after that electrical drama costed all that time.
I mean, the Audis in general, it's only the Van Thor car currently outside the top 3 in 4th place. Lawrence Van Thor doing is what he always does, driving the wheels off the Audi, but they've just been off the pace. They've either misjudged track conditions. Yeah. Maybe they were focusing very much on the temperature, the fact that it was extremely wet over the Friday and Saturday days of running. Whatever they've done, they've not had good straight line speed, and consequently they've not been able to overtake, and that's really hurt them badly.
The significant thing for me again in Audi land is, as at Monza, that the Santilok car is ahead of the WRT cars, because 3rd is where you find the Gilbert Ortelli Sandstrom car. I just think that if the cars are evenly matched, it's showing that Santilok has got an overall more evenly matched driver combination.
Hard to tell. I mean, it's just, I don't know why the Santilok car, apart from the fact that they've done a very good job, they would be ahead of that factory car, the WRT car of Lawrence Van Thor, but that is the situation. As we watch the Audi come down the straight, just under 6 minutes now of this race remaining, the best part of 3 laps, depending where the lead car is. Stephen Kane 1.9 seconds ahead of Andy Soucek in the 2nd place McLaren, and the 3rd place Audi Gilbert. Lawrence Van Thor further, well, only 2.8 seconds behind, so the 2 Audis are within fighting distance of one another, but with the clock ticking away, just coming down to 5.5 minutes. It's going to take a massive effort for Lawrence Van Thor to put the WRT car onto the podium.
5 minutes to go. You're looking at Michael Caine hustling on to get ahead of Frank Stippler. A change for 10th would be pretty good. This is the Motorbase run Aston. Oman Racing Team is the entrant, but it's Andy Dean who operates the car for David Bartram's Motorbase squad, coming now in towards Village. Frank Stippler, we know, is a star in anything he drives. Historic or modern GT cars, he's very, very quick in still. Former Porsche champion, DTM racer, and very much part of Audi's endurance program. Perhaps not ideally suited to the sprint series, in which he drove a couple of years ago, but he goes well in the endurance races. There's Ahmad Al-Hafi looking at the screens with his friends and seeing his Aston Martin pounding on and getting closer and closer to the number 3 Audi all the time. So we could have a change for 10th place before the end as well.
I mean, a top 10 finish would be pure delight. You can see the team there. We're looking forward to it, and whether Frank Stippler can defend or whether he's in just under 4.5 minutes to go, that's going to be, well, they'll come across the line, they'll probably get 2 laps, maybe 3 laps again. Just depends where the race leader is on this current lap.
Michael Caine hustling on, winner with Ahmad Al-Hafi at Alton Park in the first round of the British Championship. But it has been a race full of drama. I know we're not finished yet, but it has been a race full of drama, full of talking points. And if the Bentley can hang on in there and score victory, that would be a remarkable effort. Well deserved, I think. It's not lucked into it by any stretch of the imagination. They've worked hard for this.
Not only have they worked hard, they had to overcome a drive-through penalty for an issue of going through a yellow sector. There's the Aston trying to get up alongside. Down into Stowe corner. Doesn't have the momentum to do it, but again, it's just further pressure on Frank Stippler to defend that 10th place.
Out of Stowe, down through Vale. Now Stippler is a class act. Michael Caine is no slouch. Fascinating fight here between the two of them. And Michael Caine closing right up at the end of Vale under braking. Through they turn into Club Corner, and this is Eric Dermot under attack from the Nissan. Change of place on track. That's the pole-sitting Porsche, and it was Florian Strauss, I think, wasn't it, that went pounding past him there up on the inside. 24th is where you find that Porsche now, having lost a couple of laps over the course of the race. But Florian Strauss taking no prisoners, on target for a class victory.
No, I know he's done a very good job. You know, to consider how many people that Nissan have brought through the GT Academy and put them into this high level of GT racing. And I mean, Jan Marborough, who's going to have a big future.
Let's have a look at the Gentleman Trophy before we go any further. 458 has been the dominant car all day, and Frank Schmickler there leads the way by 20 seconds from the number 51 Ferrari, which has currently got behind the wheel of it Francisco Guedes. But 458 looks like it's going to make it 2 class wins in a row with 2.5 minutes still to run. Down through Vale it comes. In third in the class is 22, which is the Ian Logie, Chris Jones, Julian Westwood Audi. And then the 4th place car is now Yannick Malagol. There it is at the wheel of the stripy Ferrari. But behind it on the track is the 2nd place car in the class, which is 51. That is Guedes, who turns his way now out of Stowe. Down through Vale comes 51. 20 seconds back, as you've seen on the caption. But it's not going to be able to catch, I don't think, unless a drama befalls the race leader. And there, 4th, ahead of it, is the Malagol car. Pro-Am, we've been talking about it much. It is still the Nissan ahead. So Florian Strauss ahead of Mark Poole, and then 3rd in the category is Eugenio Amos in number 43, BMW. 4th now Nicola Armindo, switching to BMWs and Porsches for this year. 5th in the category, Francesco Castellacci, Ferrari, what else? And in 6th in the class now is Giacomo Petrobelli with his, what else, Ferrari. And a minute and a half remains, so we now need to start looking at where the race leader is relative to the clock, because Stephen Caine ideally doesn't really want to have to do any more laps than possible, so he can afford to just back off a little bit, see if he can time it to perfection as Florian Strauss, heading for class honours, turns then through Brooklands. Only his 2nd race at this level, and he's on target for a class win. Let's not forget the efforts of Alex Buncombe, who drove first, and Nick McMillan, of course, who did that middle stint. Nick McMillan seemed to lose places, but boys, Florian Strauss fought back well. You could argue helped by the safety car, but even so, the Nissan has fought back extremely well. Now, the race leader, there they are, he's going to get another lap out of this, isn't he? Stephen Caine's going to get one more lap, because 50 seconds on the clock at Brooklands won't get him to the flag, and he can't back off too much because the McLaren will catch him. So Stephen Caine will have to go round again. There is less than a lap time left in the race, but he will get on to the last lap. Through comes number 7, over the timing line. And onto the last lap goes Stephen Caine. A Bentley to win at Silverstone in its first season of racing would be a remarkable result. We said, John Watson and I at Monza, you could be looking at a Bentley podium at Silverstone. Is a win out of the question? I have to say, I didn't expect this car to be fighting for wins so soon, but an excellent job done. And yes, it had that drive-through penalty about which Guy Smith is completely befuddled. Andy Merrick's middle stint was an absolute ripper. Stephen Caine's drive to get on terms with Andy Soucek and take the lead, fantastic. Add it all together, Bentley leads onto the Hanger Straight. We're on the last lap. Some of the engineers daren't even look up at the screens, such is the tension. I think there might be one vast party at Bentley tonight. And Malcolm Wilson's M Sport team, with a mega track record in rallying, has come into GT racing and looks as though it's going to score victory, and arguably the most important race for a British mark at a British circuit. The history of Bentley, you can link to Silverstone and the British Racing Drivers Club over decades, and another important chapter is about to be written as the car comes past the wing. Stephen Kane, the man behind the wheel of it. It's good for Stephen as well, because after a few years in the doldrums, his career seemed to be stagnating a little bit. He had an unhappy time in the BTCC that didn't really gel in the way that he wanted it to. But he's come back, he's fought back well, and with new impetus, a race victory here, he's only going to increase his standing. So Stephen Kane, Andy Merrick and Guy Smith, don't want to call him a Bentley veteran now, but of course he did win Le Mans for Bentley. They're the three drivers, and he's about to emerge now from Aintree down Wellington Straight. Still the Bentley boys in the garage don't look, they don't believe their luck. Luck's perhaps an unfair word, but a win is going to come their way. It is just around the corner. The corner is Luffield. Round 2 of the Blancpain Endurance Series has been a battle of the British brands. Bentley versus McLaren. Bentley will come out on top. Guy Smith, Andy Merrick, Stephen Kane win for Bentley at Silverstone. The Bentley crosses the line. The race director, Alan Adam, waves the flag. The Bentley is victorious. McLaren second in the hands of Andy Soucek. 1.2 seconds is the margin as they come across the line. A fantastic race, and what a result. Bentley, we've talked about in positive terms, but to have a win so soon in the history of the car is very impressive indeed, and where better for it to happen than at Silverstone. A brilliant job done by the team. There for the checkered flag coming over the line is the third place, as it is at the end. Laurens Vanthoor, Audi, he got ahead of Greg Gilbert on the last lap unseen, but Laurens Vanthoor third, so a very, very good job indeed done, because he was a long way back. And for fourth place it is Gilbert, fifth will be Stef Dusseldorp's Mercedes coming over the line, and for sixth spot Bernd Schneider, who comes through now. Oh, what a race. Well, there's only another 3-hour race to go in this season at Paul Ricard. Then we have 24 hours and 1,000 kilometres with more drama, as we've seen the Pro Cup cars come over the line. Now it is the turn of the Pro-Ams to make their way down to the checkered flag, and also the Gentleman Trophy winning cars. 458 is going to win the Gentleman Trophy, which is the Frank Schmickler Alexander Matschul car. No Pierre Arret with them this weekend, the normal third driver. They've done it just the pair, and 458 makes it 2 out of 2, because they were victorious at Monza and victorious at Silverstone as well, as the car now comes over the timing line to take the win. In second place in the class, and there's a very emotional Malcolm Wilson. Second place should be number 51, the AF Corsa Ferrari. And this is the winning car in Pro-Am. Nissan victorious, because Florian Strauss, Nick McMillan and Alex Buncombe come home as the winners. Drama in all three classes, race long, and a race early on that I thought Alvaro Parent would run away with. Turns out to be a victory for Bentley. Well done to M Sport, well done to Malcolm Wilson, who looked very overcome by it all, I have to say. And Malcolm's experienced the highs and lows of the sport as a team owner and as a driver, of course, because he had an excellent rallying history as a driver himself, going back to the 1970s when he started in his Ford Escorts, and of course was an Austin Rover Works driver for a time in the 6R4 era.
Brilliant job, absolutely.
But delight at Bentley. There's John Wickham. Well, he smiles now. John Watson pointed out that he rarely smiles. Well, he's smiling now. A little smile. Malcolm Wilson, as I say, is beside himself, and he strides over to the team. Hugs all round. There's as much a sense of disbelief as there is rejoicing going on here, because it's a victory that perhaps nobody could really have predicted after the first hour of the race. But some great driving all round has given Bentley the win. And the team makes its way to the foot of the podium, ready for the celebrations. We'll hear from the drivers. John Watson has gone down there, and you can expect some very, very happy drivers indeed. Stephen Kane there with the honour of bringing the car home. And, well, it wasn't just a 1-hour drive, was it? He really had to hustle on in order to grab the advantage. So Bentley wins at Silverstone. That's the headline. And already the cheers have started from the Bentley engineers, the M Sport team. Stephen Kane clambers out of the car, on top of the car. Well, not quite, but Stephen Kane wins at Silverstone for Bentley, and he is absolutely overjoyed, and you can understand why. Everybody at Bentley is delighted, and Stephen celebrates with his mechanics. An awesome job done. Andy Merrick is the next one in the line to give him a big, big hug. And a win at this level matters for these guys, because they have had careers drivers, all three of them, with ups and downs. And for Stephen Kane, it's an opportunity to show to people just how good he is. And Guy Smith says it's a brilliant drive. Andy Merrick has leapt over the barrier, I think, to get into Parc Fermé. That's Guy Smith making his way through as well, because they'll be whisked up to the podium after they have spoken to John Watson down in the Parc Fermé area. What a race. And what a result. What a result. Andy Soucek. Whoa. Cole was all right. That Bentley was quick, he must be saying. And there's also quite a lot of rejoicing going on at Audi number 1, as there Laurens Vanthoor brings it home for third. Marc Bosseng and Cesar Ramos were quite a long way down in their respective stints, but the car comes home for third place. Let's hear from the race winners, because Stephen Kane, Andy Merrick and Guy Smith are with John Watson.
Stephen Kane, you brought the Bentley across the finish line to take the victory. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Yeah, it's fantastic. You know, British brand and a British track. The last time we've seen a British a Bentley on British soil is back in Newton Arch, where I was born. So I take a lot of pride, and I'm very, very pleased to do it in front of the BRDC and all the British fans.
Well, I mean, it's been a stunning drive, particularly bearing in mind that in the early part of the race, that Guy had a drive-through penalty. It was best part of maybe 20 seconds. Guy, you had the difficult first stint and that drive-through penalty. Do you ever believe when you were doing that this could end up in a victory?
No way. I mean, it was amazing. I mean, the car was just fantastic. We got the drive-through and we dropped right down, but the guys actually did a fantastic pit stop. It gained us 2 spots in the pits. Andy drove a great stint and going to the front, and Stephen at the end there was fantastic. So it was a really, really great team effort. All the guys have worked so hard for this, and this is for them.
Andy, you showed us in Monza what the car is capable of, but today it looked even better.
Absolutely. I mean, we've worked on the car from Monza. That was our first race in Blancpain, and I just can't speak highly enough of obviously the car and the Bentley have given us, but Team M Sport Bentley have practiced and worked so hard since Monza, and they've perfected everything. We've been pretty hard on them, and they've just come back and responded like true world champions, and they've just been incredible. So I'm just so happy.
Well, gentlemen, I hope you have a great evening this evening. Forget the wine gums, take the real thing. It'll be really good. Well done.
Smiles all round, thumbs up all round. And is this the first of many wins this year for Bentley? Paul Ricard next, then 24 hours at Spa, a completely different type of race. And the 1,000 kilometres, the Blancpain 1,000 at the Nürburgring. OK, well, what about the second place story? Because Andy Soucek and team have got a bit of explaining to do. They're with John now.
Andy, for so long you had control of the race, but the Bentley just ran you down.
Yeah, I think he was just too quick. My lap times were actually good. I was asking the team if my pace was good. They said it was, but apparently the other was just flying. So I couldn't really hold him, and finally we had to give up. But we are leading the championship, and we got some good points, so we're quite happy.
Kevin, you had a very, very good opening stint as well. What were your thoughts?
Well, I thought at the beginning that we had a good car. I could make it to third position after the start and then overtake the Bentley, and then I had the same pace than Alvaro, so I thought, okay, we can make it. And then, yeah, at the end we got a safety car, which also, yeah, which was not really optimum for us, but the Bentley was really fast. Congrats to them, because they had a good car, and but we won't give up, and we'll be there next race.
Kevin, you had a great middle stint, and it all looked like it was going to be comfortable victory.
Yeah, I actually heard on the radio also that the gap was getting bigger, and I was like more than 20 seconds ahead, I think 25 seconds. So I was just trying to make no mistakes and keep the gap, but unfortunately we had safety car, and Bentley, yeah, I think Bentley did a great job. They did drive through and still they won the race, so that's amazing, I think. And next time I think we must push a bit, and then maybe we can challenge them.
Well done all three. We made a very exciting finish to a 3-hour race. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Exciting finish indeed, and they will go to the podium for second place. Third in the end, Laurens Vanthoor, Cesar Ramos and Marc Bosseng. And that was a result that came out of nowhere as well on the last lap indeed. Vanthoor getting himself up and past Greg Gilver as the McLaren drivers happy for the championship, says Andy Soucek. That's, I think, clutching to the positive out of what was a race that got away from them, really. But the same is true for number 98, because Alvaro Parent, who dominated that first stint, ending up with a very disappointing result for that car in the end. Let's catch up on WRT's story as well now.
Well, on a hard day for WRT, but third place in the last lap. Tell me all about it.
That's fantastic. We managed to do very good pit stops, and then in the end I was just attacking like 110% to try and close a gap. I did it in Monza, but I couldn't pass, and here we could pass third place. It was very fair between me and Guevara, and it was a close move, very close. But it worked out, and I'm really happy. We did a couple of good races, but we didn't have the result which we deserved, and now we finally on the podium, and hopefully it's the beginning of more.
Cesar, for a long time you were stuck behind a Mercedes-Benz, and you were quicker in the lap, and you couldn't get past.
Yeah, it was a shame in my stint. I couldn't do anything more. I really felt the car was really good, so all I hoped was for a good pit stop and then for Lawrence to go and have a chance, and he had the chance and he took it. So yeah, I'm really thankful for what he did, and we are on the podium now. Really good. Happy for the team that the guys did a really good job. 2 wonderful pit stops, and yeah, we are third. It's not first, but still we are really happy.
Excellent. Mark, opening laps are just manic. I mean, how anybody could get through the laps without contact, without losing position, seemed impossible.
Yeah, I got hit in the right hand. I had to go through the S's in the first corner, and yeah, it was just amazing. I was happy to keep the car on the track. Unfortunately, it deserved this drive-through penalty, which just put us a little bit back, but the safety car came out, and Lawrence did a great job in the end.
Well, it's a tough day for WRT, but you guys got up on the podium. Well done.
Thank you.
Yes, number one also had its drive-through early on, which of course lost Mark Bosseng some time, but they fought back. And Laurens Vanthoor, who is very highly regarded within the Audi GT ranks at the moment, there's some debate as to whether it's him or René Rast who is the quicker. And there are some people that would tell you it is, at the moment, Vanthoor just edging René Rast. Well, what about Pro-Am? It was Florian Strauss who brought the car home. Let's hear from the Nissan drivers.
Florian, congratulations, you brought the car home in the Pro-Am trophy.
Yeah, thank you very much. I just had to do the same like my teammates to do a good job, bring the car back. And yeah, Alex did an amazing job in the beginning, which was, key for our race. So we had almost, could avoid any big, battles for places. So we didn't lose too much time there. Nick then just almost saved the place, and I come back out in second. And after safety car period, we were in first class. So nothing to lose for me. I try to keep it safe. It's always exciting because you're between all the cars, and of course you don't want to slow down too much. Maybe scared about other cars getting back, but yeah, it's a big team effort. We were close in Monza, so we are now pretty happy to pretty much now go over there and have some nice party today.
Alex, you had a difficult start at the Copse. You got squeezed a bit on the inside, but the Nissan's here when it counts.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, it was a shame I couldn't get past the Porsche into the first corner, but at the end of the day, it didn't really make any odds. At the end of the day, I still led the class, which was the goal, and so pleased for everyone involved to repeat the performance we did here last year, and to come home with the wins, really good. We were fast in Monza as well, and didn't really go to plan there, but yeah, really chuffed to get the win here.
Excellent. Nick, what are your thoughts on the podium for the first time in a GT car?
Definitely feeling really good about it. We were running good at Monza, and had a little bit of an issue with fuel, but yeah, to come back and get first place here is absolutely amazing. And Florian and Alex put in some great stints, and yeah, I just had to try and hold position and bring it home.
Well, you're certainly being chased by the Aston Martin behind, and Mark Poole and Florian looked like they were really tough at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it looked to me like Joe Osborne did a really good stint. So all good credit to those boys. Really, they did a really good job, and looked like the safety car didn't really pan out for them, which is that's a shame. Sometimes it works for you, sometimes it doesn't, and yeah, I guess that's racing.
Well done, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And second in the class was the Mark Poole Aston Martin. A good job by Mark in the last stint to bring it home, although, of course, it was leading early on with the efforts of Joe Osborne. Well, let's have a look at the overall result. We'll do classes in a bit. The Bentley is the winning car. That's the main headline from Silverstone as Guy Smith, Andy Merrick and Stephen Kane come through ahead of Andy Soucek and the Kevins, Est and Kyrgios. Mark Bosseng, Cesar Ramos and Laurens Vanthoor rally for third ahead of Stefan Ortelli, Edward Sandstrom and Greg Gilbert. Then it's Lucas Wolf ahead of Sergei Afanasiev and Steph Dusseldorp, Prima, Verdonk, Schneider rounding out the top six. And
it worked much better.
In seventh, that being the Alexandre Prema, Gregoire de Moustier.
So much more grip.
car that fell away in de Moustier's middle stint. As the drivers make their way now out onto the podium for the AM class. For third place, already there, the Team Parker Racing Audi drivers. So you have Ian Logie, Chris Jones and Julian Westwood for third, making their way out for second in the Gentleman Trophy, Felipe Barreros and Peter Mann, Francisco Guedes, but the win to Alexander Matschel and Frank Schmickler. So Frank Schmickler in the middle, along with a very, very happy Alexander Matschel, who is new to racing at this level. He's done the VLN for a number of seasons, but came to Blancpain last year at the 1000k race at the Nürburgring, the Blancpain 1000, and enjoyed himself. And so an effort has been made with GT Course by Rinaldi to run the car this year, and a second victory in a row for those guys. The trophy's already presented to the Brits, to Julian Westwood, Ian Logie and Chris Jones. There, the trophies to Peter Mann, to his co-drivers of Francisco Guedes and Felipe Barreros, and then to the winners, because Alexander Matschel and Frank Schmickler now get the trophies. Pierre Eret was with them at Monza to score victory, but not here this weekend, so at least not here to race, and so it's just the two of them, and they have divided the driving duties well and come out on top, beating the three-driver combinations. Message on the screen telling us that the restart after the safety car is under investigation. Whether that's going to affect the outcome, I know not. Whether it's a general investigation or any specific cars, we don't know. The winners get the Blancpain clock. The GT Course by Rinaldi rep is there with his trophy, and the drivers all on the podium will in a moment get the champagne, and that's the cue for the cowards to get out of the way. And you would have thought, wouldn't you, with gentlemen, they would take it and drink it later, but oh no, that's not the case. The champagne is sprayed, and a very happy Alexander Matschel and Frank Schmickler, who is now a rather more venerable driver, graded bronze, is winning once again. Go back to the late 80s, early 90s, he was one of the front runners in the DTM, and is an experienced driver, no argument about it, but now winning races once more in this year's Blancpain Endurance Series. 81 laps were done by the winning car in the class, and Matschel and Schmickler beating Mann, Barreros and Guedes, Logie, Jones and Westwood. Fourth went to Howard Blanc, Jean-Marc Bachelier and Yannick Malagol, ahead of Freddie Kramer, Marcus May and Steve Earle. They were the only finishers. We know about the Aston Martin crashing, we know about the Audi with its mechanical dramas, and the Gosselin Lanier Sword Audi retired early on. So that is how the Gentleman Trophy race result looks, and it's going to, of course, increase the Matschel-Schmickler advantage in the title race. So the podium is being made ready for the Pro-Am category drivers, who will make their way next. But as we prepare for that, Silverstone in the sunshine has given another tremendous race. This is how the Pro-Am category looked. It was a win for number 80, namely the Nick McMillan, Florian Strauss, Alex Buncombe, Nissan ahead of Richard Abram, Mark Poole and Joe Osborne, with Michela Cerruti, Eugenio Amos and Stefano Comandini third, ahead of Eric Clement, Benjamin Lariche and Nicola Armindo. Rizzoli, Guy, Castellacci fifth, Brosniewski, Bonaccini and Petrobelli rounded out the top six. And there are the drivers, all on the podium. The Nissan drivers huddled together on the top step for the national anthem. So the British national anthem played because it's a British team, RJN, which is Bob Neville's team, that runs the Nissan. And Darren Cox, who is Nissan's Motorsport Supremo, is here and has been a very interesting spectator watching how his cars have got on. There is Bob Neville, in fact, in the red top, standing on the podium. a happy man. And of course, when you bear in mind that the drivers, 2 of the 3 that have won this category, are new to racing for real this year. I know that there are races, or a race, as part of the driver evaluation in the PlayStation GT Academy that Nissan runs, but there's nothing like the real thing. This is very much the real thing. There is Florian Strauss receiving his trophy and a happy man. Alex Buncombe is the man in the middle. He's the professor, if you like, out of his team, because he's the more experienced driver. And with him there on the podium is Nick McMillan. In the black overalls, you've got Joe Osborne, Mark Poole and Richard Abbott at the far side. And then you have Eugenio Amos, trophy in the air, Michele Ceruti now, and Stefano Comandini is there in the white overalls. And this could be a rather more excitable podium. In fact, Eugenio Amos scampers away. Bob Neville says, please let me through. Come on, please. I don't want to get all wet, but I think Bob's a bit stuck. So he's got to try and force his way off the podium. But Florian Strauss, in the meantime, has been watching how drivers spray champagne. The MP Motorsport guys are just doing it amongst themselves, so to speak, because I think Mark Poole got the soaking as Le Patron, Richard Abbott and Joe Osborne ganging up on him. But the Pro Cup is where the overall result has come. To make the point again, Bentley winning by just 1.2 seconds. Guy Smith, Andy Merrick, Stephen Kane on the top step, Andy Soucek, Kevin Est, Kevin Corius for the second step, Mark Basseng, Cesar Ramos, Laurens Vanthoor for the third step, ahead of Stefan Ortelli, Edward Sandstrom, Greg Gilbert, Lucas Wolf, Sergei Afanasiev and Steph Dusseldorp, and then Harold Primat, Nico Verdonk and Beth Schneider rounding out the top 6. 7th was the car that led early on. The number 98 McLaren that Greg Wilder-Mustier lost the time with, but then in fairness it wasn't just down to him. Alexander Premat had that spin and cost it a load of time as well. Frank Stippler was next in the class with James Nash and Christopher Mies. And on to the podium for third place, Laurens Vanthoor, Cesar Ramos, Mark Basseng. For the second step, Andy Soucek, along with the Kevins, Est and Curious. But then the biggest cheer of the day is going to be reserved for Andy Merrick, Stephen Kane and Guy Smith. British drivers all, British car, British team. And as the handshakes have been completed, the British national anthem. Biggest smiles of the weekend you have just seen on the podium as the Bentley drivers put their regulation Pirelli caps back on. Friends, family, engineers, fans, supporters cheer below. And the trophies are given to the third place drivers, Laurens Vanthoor, Cesar Ramos and Mark Basseng. And the car that's engineered by Adam Hardy came good, didn't it, in that last stint, with Laurens Vanthoor underlining why he is very much one of the top Audi GT racers. There for second, Andy Soucek, Kevin Curious, Kevin Est. And trophies for the Bentley boys. Guy Smith, Andy Merrick and Stephen Kane now gets his trophy that's about as big as he is. They are absolutely and understandably over the moon. It's been a great drive by all 3. And to reinforce the point, this is a car in the infancy of its development. It's a score of victory of this magnitude so early. And on merit, I keep making the point, they didn't luck into it. It wasn't that cars fell off and they ended up going from 7th to inherit the win. That was done on outright pace, driver ability, a good car, and therefore all on merit. Bentley wins at Silverstone, and now the champagne. Into Nissan fighting with the champagne, all the teams attack each other. I think the bottles may well get dropped to the teams below if there's anything left in them. So after, in the end, 84 laps of racing, that late safety car period. So it's a win for Bentley. Let's catch up with John Wickham and Malcolm Wilson on a victory there with Watty.
Malcolm Wilson, congratulations. Where does this rate amongst all your illustrious career and successes?
I must admit it's a great moment to get that opportunity to represent Bentley and to come on only our second race and to win. And to do it at Silverstone as well, you can imagine the feeling of everybody within the team, but it's been just an incredible team effort by everybody.
Well, you've had a fantastic career, but in rallying, coming into motorsport, you've actually made it look too easy.
I can assure you it hasn't been too easy. There's been a lot of hard work by a lot of people, a lot of commitment, dedication, and it's really down to them guys. And of course the drivers have done a fantastic job today.
John Wickham, you and others, Alistair McQueen, good old boys, we're all part of that club. Your contribution's been invaluable.
Well, I've been there, I've watched it. It's been 2 years in the making, from the concept car to this. Fantastic result at Silverstone. And the way the lads work today, the team, the pit stops are absolutely mint. Absolutely mint. So together with the drivers, the team, the constructor, the whole lot, fantastic.
John, Malcolm, many congratulations. Enjoy the evening. I'm sure you will.
Might have one. Thank you very much.
Well done. Thank you. Cheers. Well done, Malcolm.
Smiles all round from Malcolm Wilson and John Wickham. As we look back on the highlights of round 2 of the Blancpain Endurance Series that began with a McLaren in the lead and an Aston Martin, that of Andy Schultz, in the gravel at Beckett's on the very first lap of the race. Jerome D'Ambrosio was attacked by Stefano Comodini. That BMW still got to the podium, whereas the Bentley had a puncture. Ryan Ratcliffe was given an assist by Renat Salikov. He went off the road, and then when his tyre went down, he had a big off going into Copse Corner. And a rather sore and shaken Ryan Ratcliffe, lucky to get away unscathed. Guy Smith was given a drive-through penalty for overtaking, allegedly, under a yellow flag. He served that, and it looked as though the car's race had been ruined. In contrast, number 99 was looking pretty strong. It had had a good run in the first stint, and the car made its way out of the pit lane for the second stint of the race before its sister car. But it wasn't long before, after Kevin Essen's first stint, Kevin Kuyas put himself through on the inside of Gregoire de Musquier, who then fell away over the remainder of his stint. And into the mix came Andy Merrick, who brought the number 7 Bentley into the game. First, he swept past the Stefan Ortelli-driven Audi. That gave him 3rd place. Then he set off 27 seconds back in pursuit of the 2nd-placed Gregoire de Musquier-driven McLaren. And he made his move at Brooklands with about 3/4 of a gap when he started, and the place when he finished. Came in a little before the end of the hour to give way to Stephen Kane. Stephen lost a fraction of time as he stalled the car, but he picked it up and went out of the pit lane gunning for number 99 McLaren, which will be taken into the last stint by Andy Soucek. 98 will be given over to Alexandre Premat, but he didn't feature after spinning behind the safety car on the restart and then having another drama that cost him another chunk of time. Therefore, the final part of the race came down to a battle between McLaren and Bentley. The two of them were running together. Other pit stops were circled through in the Pro-Am category. The number 43 BMW on target for 3rd in class. Greg Gill there, making his way up the order in number 26 Audi. Another driver doing a good job in the last stint of the race. As then the safety car came out after this accident for Andy Schultz, who spun the Aston Martin that had been in the gravel on the first lap into the wall on the Hanger Straight. Everybody bunched up behind the safety car. On the restart, Premat got it wrong as he gunned the throttle too early and lost the back of the car. He was able to rejoin, but this turned the battle now into McLaren versus Bentley. The two cars made their way up over the timing line with through on the inside, the Bentley, to secure the place. It went through on the inside line, and the two cars ran their way through Copse Corner with the Bentley ahead into a lead it was never to lose. Stephen Kane came through to score victory and to give Bentley its first GT3 victory after an amazing race. Next stop is Paul Ricard, but from a Bentley 1 Silverstone. From John Watson, David Addison and Jack Nicholls, goodbye.